Was the wrong one. That was the wrong one. Looking for the right one. Pro podcasting there, way,
Know it.
or pro YouTubing, podcasting, whatever. Anyway, welcome to Biggest Geekus. We are your hosts. I am Joe.
And I'm Randy.
This is episode 82 of our podcast. And, well, we should probably edit that slightly. Anyway, of the show is probably what we should call it. Since
the show.
The show. Show of shows.
Show. Yeah, Eric Tinkar had a fun time doing that. He kept saying, remember early on when he was switching to YouTube stuff, he was like podcast show, whatever, cast.
Yeah. The date is April 5th, 2022.
Yes, it is, sir.
So,
yeah.
We played.
We did. That's right. Saturday. Face to face. None of that internet crapola. No, we don't roll like that.
No, we like it face to face, in person.
Right in your face.
In your face,
dude.
Or as Jackie Chan would put it, in the face.
Shadow and Son caught a little typo. Looks like we got Monster Masked as the title instead of.
We probably do. Let me see.
That's okay, man. Yes, Shadow. You were
correct. In the YouTube description, it's not the thumbnail is good.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. Let me see here. Where is it at? I must fix. Fix it.
Okay, man.
Yes, there it is. I see. So in the title, it's masked, or was. But in the description, it was correct. So, right. And in the thumbnail. So, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
No, just ask Meatloaf.
Yeah.
But
All right. So, we played more.
Earth Dawn Session 2.
Earth Dawn is he here?
I don't think so. Is he here?
No. It does not look like we are being joined by Legion of Myth yet.
That's okay.
But
we enjoyed it. Yeah, it was fun. I like the fact that I could not heal myself ever. So
say that again?
That's a lie. I did heal myself some, but it was not
it's hard.
Huh? Yeah.
It's hard.
Dude, when you start taking wounds, it's I see how it could become the death spiral.
Yeah, there are more steps to go through. There's no typical cleric, though. With the old school game, there was a delay to healing because the first level cleric didn't have any spells or any facility to heal any more than anyone else, and you're lucky to get a potion, especially playing with this dude here.
Oh, potions are for the weak, dude. You don't need those.
Yeah.
Weak potion, boy.
So when folks on the interwebs say you can play D&D with 1 hit point, I say, no, you're high. Play D&D. Sure, you can play as in hide behind everybody else and, use harsh language maybe. That's about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was fun. Actually, there was lots of slow healing on Saturday.
Oh, we got funked, man.
Yeah.
Wife got smashed. What's our buddy Greg got hurt a little bit. I don't know if you took any damage or Jeffrey the wizard, but yeah.
Yes, this is a foreshadowing of the future of our main topic. But yes, Darth, Very much so. You can do almost anything with undead since the rules that apply to living creatures don't apply.
Yeah, that brings up some ideas of how I used to do undead.
Yeah, biological, environmental. You can have skeletons just in the water waiting for you.
You know, you can do it even if you're not a biologist or an environmentalist.
Correct. Because, yeah, we can, I think we can, you know, we might be going out on a limb, but we can correctly identify some environmental features that humans have a hard time existing in that skeletons and other certain corporeal undead would. Now, it wouldn't be like fire or acid because, of course, they're still organic creatures to a degree, and they will dissolve or burn very well. But there are other places where, you know, vacuum of space and stuff like that. Yeah, that'd be great. You're out in space fixing, you know, the stuff outside like you do because you're in space and you always have to go outside your ship to fix stuff.
Yeah.
In every space movie, that's what you do.
Therefore, in every adventure.
Right. I mean, not in like Star Wars, but Star Trek and any show that depicts current day space travel kind of things or near future.
Sure.
They're outside fixing stuff. Some skeletons walk up next to you. That'd be scary.
Float next to you, maybe.
Or float. Or they can be walking alongside your ship.
That's true. That's true. Who says you can't have undead in science fiction?
No one hears you scream out in space.
No, not even the skeletons. They don't have ears.
No ears.
Yeah.
But we did face undead-like opponents.
We did cadaver men
and some the spirit, and were they some kind of spirit creatures?
Yeah.
Don't know what they are because we're new to the game.
They were horribly tough.
Yeah, they were.
Didn't help us, me being at -2 or 3. Heck, at one time when I got feared by one of those dudes, I was at -10 to every action. So
yeah, you were like whiffing almost the whole night.
Sweet negative rolls. It was awesome.
I think you were okay before that, but then we didn't really. I think we only fought a few cadaver men at the very beginning, and then we went inside the. No, we didn't go inside. They came out.
Yes, they came out
of a vault. We were like, I don't know if we should go in or not.
Or they had dug too deep, and there was a vault there, and we were thinking it might
be too greedily and too deep.
Yeah, we're thinking it might be a care, but we're not sure.
So. A corrupted one for sure.
Or shewers. But yeah.
Dead Space.
I feel like I've not seen that.
That sounds familiar though.
Is that a movie?
That sounds familiar. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But there's that in Event Horizon where they didn't really depict the bad guys. It was all kind of in the corner of your eye kind of stuff, which was really, I thought it was a decent movie. I'm usually not into horror movies, but it was all right.
Oh, video game. Dude, check out it was a video game. Check out Martinson and Shawner suggestions. They're pretty nasty, starting at the high end, dude.
Undead Space Dragons.
Dude,
Shawner, Undead Space Dragons. I mean, that's game over, man.
Great. Well, look at one up, man. Martinson. What about Undead Xenomorphs? Now you're talking.
No, you're not even having a game. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, that's one round of doom.
Yeah. They're already bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Powder Puff Nerd. Event Horizon was good and scary.
Yeah, agreed. I like that one.
So, yeah, fun was had by all. Still getting to know the system.
Yeah, I think I was rolling the wrong dice several times, and I finally checked myself halfway through.
I think complex dice mechanics, while you're learning them, they're a bit of a problem because they're complex, and if you don't know them very well, you're going to miss things like the right dice to roll. And whether the -1 is for this particular system, is it -1 step or is it -1 to your roll? So
right. I think a lot of times penalties are meant to be steps. That would be more consistent. The penalties are more steps. They have some others though, but I think that's true. Like one of my wounds were -1 to my roll, which was bad enough. Yeah.
Undead Draco liches. That's it's a little redundant.
Are they or double negative? Are they living dragons?
Ooh.
Undead, undead dragons.
Oh, Darth is ahead of us.
Yes, he is.
That's kind of redundant, which implies undead. Yes, it does. But maybe he's just emphasizing the undead part.
Funny. I think Baron's he's funning us.
He's having a fun.
Yeah. Oh, Duncan Bradley's got a movie. I've never seen that one. The Dig by LucasArts. Can you see that just a little before Baron G rocks? Yeah. LucasArts in the 90s. I've never seen that one. So
no, I don't even remember hearing about that.
They dig too deep, Duncan. Is that what it's about? They dug up something bad. I like those kind of movies. Those are good. All right.
Yeah, it's a warning. We shouldn't always be interested in digging up the past. You never know what you don't ever know what you're gonna get.
Dude, look at Shadow and Son predicting our content. Don't just put it on the screen. I don't want to tell the podcast people.
Oh, you keep in the dark.
One up. Look at what he says. I really like ghouls, ghasts, and wights, fast, scary, cunning as hell, while still being lower level monsters. I blum blank blank. Not saying it. He is inside our melons.
All right, we'll have to have him clarify a little bit.
No, he's kind of thinking what we're thinking.
No, but the part you omitted on purpose is a little unclear.
Oh, right. I think it's
three.
I do hate.
Hate.
Right.
That makes it make much sense.
I have lots of. Oh, The Dig is a video game, says Duncan. It is not a movie. Okay.
You're not but teeth all day. You get up close and personal with people's face holes.
I think he might be into the dentistry, perhaps.
Maybe.
You're forgiven, Shadow and Son. It's fair to predict us. We're nothing if not mostly predictable.
Mostly.
They mostly come at night.
Mostly. All right. So let's get into it with our call-ins. Yeah. Well, singular. We have one call-in.
Good enough. I like plural. I like singular.
Let's see here. Let's go there.
Joe's working his techno magic.
It's just a lot of clicks.
While we're waiting, look around here. I have completely pulled up the carpet. I don't know if you can see it with my big head in the way. Carpet on the that's not good. That's the floorboard underneath. In this room, I'm gonna be doing a little painting of it, the Kills paint, and then I'm gonna do a little rug placement. So things are looking good in the old DM/office space.
Good deal. All right, here we go. Oh, I have to redo it. Oh, I forgot to click the audio crap.
You sound like you don't like all that clicking you have to do.
It's a pain in the keister.
Clicking keisterness.
Too many clicks.
Big John, my man.
Hey there, guys. It's John and Hannah from the Red Dice Diaries.
Hi.
We're just calling in to say we've been enjoying your Monster Mash episode, and we're both really pleased to hear that we'd inspired you with our own monster episodes.
And I might be stealing your top 10 monsters idea. That's a really good one.
Yeah, so there we go. We're going to you've been taking influence from us. We're going to take some influence back from your ideas. It's like influenceception. Really looking forward to hearing what you guys do with your monster episodes. It's always great to hear like new ideas about what people like about monsters and what they don't like. And we're hoping to do some more of that stuff ourselves in the future. But yeah, no worries about that, guys. Looking forward to hearing your monster episodes in the future. Take care and keep up the good work, and we'll catch you soon.
Bye.
All right. Got Hannah on there. That's sweet. Good to hear from John and Hannah. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. It's good to, what is it? Was it called? What's the statement when you, sincerest form of flattery is not plagiarism, but there's some kind of statement when someone kind of rips
Imitation.
off. Imitation. Yeah, there you go. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So, yeah, our top 10, we got a rough idea. I don't know. You didn't get a poll up yet, did you, Joe?
I did not.
Okay, we'll probably do something. We'll talk about that later on, but that sounds good.
Well, we might as well wait till we have a few monsters in the can before we do a poll. We can also try to encourage some interaction here and ask our our captive audience,
Yes.
who must do what we say or else, what they think about top 10 monsters that they use as DMs or their favorites as players. Either way.
Sure. And we're kind of this first one, and I don't know how we'll do this fully, but when we get to it, we're going to study we're going to look at the Corporeal Undead today. That means we'll probably do the Incorporeal eventually, but I don't see us doing these one right after the other. In fact, next week I'm envisioning us revisiting a hot topic that Joe and I is near and dear to our hearts, high level play. So I'm kind of pumped about that one. So we'll do these from time to time, and hopefully we can get them all. We're hoping to do a poll, maybe. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Darth, are you guys going to be going over each monster type or most of them? We're just going to be hitting the ones we like. Although, if there's enough interest in a particular monster or monster type, and there's enough people saying, yeah, why don't you guys do this? We will be happy to.
Yep.
We want to be of use.
Yes.
And
slobs.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of that, can I make a comment here? Another thing I've done.
No.
I'm making a comment. And I'm putting it's going to be on video because I broke 300 pounds, dude. I'm pissed off.
Oh, boy.
I don't mind being biggest, but I hate being super fattest. So Randy started his diet, doing 2,000-ish calorie. Still hitting the gym, but I'm making a significant. I'm done with any kind of soda diet or otherwise. I'm putting myself on video saying it, so I'm committed. This time next year, I want to be 60 pounds lighter, if not more. I'm not taking diet pills, doing nothing stupid, but I know I can do that in a year. I can lose 60 pounds for sure.
It's a matter of changing. This is someone who's overweight too,
dude.
But it's really just a matter of picking your lifestyle and living that. So that's it. Yeah, you don't have to do anything fancy or whatever. However, some keys are dropping as many carbs as you possibly can.
Yes, I know. And I do love carbs. I did pretty good today, except for the spaghetti. That's carbs. Yeah. All right. Oh, Powder Puff. I have a t-shirt. I had a t-shirt that said that, Powder Puff nerd. Look at that.
Bigger people are harder to kidnap.
Yes. Yeah.
What are you drinking? Just the hard stuff.
Tea, baby. Tea with a little bit of like little caffeine, but mostly the non-caffeinated, like what's it called? Herbal tea crap. So,
is that what it's called on the box? Herbal tea crap?
Yeah, I looked for that one because I didn't have time to figure any kind of good tea out.
Is that one of those monkey poop things? Like the coffee, the monkey poop coffee?
Yeah. Martin's, and that's what I should do. He's right. See what he said?
Oh, there you go. Martinson says at Randy, just identify as a smaller person and you're all good.
I'm going to identify as a 6'2", 220 pound guy.
There you go. Yeah. That's problem solved. Where's
the donuts?
Powder Puff Nerds asks do a poll.
Yes.
And yes, well, that's the plan. I just haven't done it yet.
It'll be a little bit down the way because we want to get a few monsters under our belt, and then or maybe not. Maybe Joe will just do it and keep it running total.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I can put up a poll and say what monsters, because we like to tell people what to do, which is why we just come up with the monsters, and you guys have to live with it.
And you love it.
But we are open to suggestions.
Yeah.
Just don't make them too forcefully because we will faint.
Yeah, I'll get scared.
Yeah. No, but yeah, we're going to put up a poll and
of some sort. Yes.
Of some sort.
Joe and I have to talk about it. So, all right.
So next on the agenda,
yep.
which Randy for some reason had to print because he loves killing them trees softly with his printer.
I do. I'm a very soft murderer.
Is Paizo is has put out. It's up for sale, right? I saw
Is it for sale already? I think you can. It's in a pre-order.
Let me see.
You're going to put it on the screen.
Pre-order, yeah. It's not up until October. I'll put it up here.
Yeah. Okay. So
do the sherry thing here. Share.
Domination. Vault.
We want you to read small type on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Yeah. Let me see if I can zoom. Oh, that's the wrong way.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Not bad.
All right. So there's probably a keyboard shortcut. I just don't know what it is.
That's okay.
Probably Control Plus. That's probably
shortcuts are for the weak.
Yeah, that's it. Minus and plus.
Go the long way.
All right. Anyway, we've got up on the screen here for you folks out in audio land who are just, I'm sure, riveted by our commentary and my clicking. There's an adventure path that Paizo has. I think this was a Pathfinder adventure path, and they've made it
one of the early 2E ones, and it goes levels 1 to 10. Your favorite stops early, and but it's like it was only 3. Back in the 1E days, I have a butt ton back here of adventure paths of Paizo. They would do 6 adventure paths, 6 really thick modules, and you would go from level 1 to about 15 or 16, which was kind of annoying. But now they did this one in 3. Apparently, I did a little research. They did this Abomination Vault. It's more of a big mega dungeon, and I think, don't hold me to it. And
I'm holding you.
Okay. And then they're converting it to 5e. So now Paizo has converted Rise of the Rune Lords to Savage Worlds, which I should be getting sometime this summer. And they're converting another one of the other ones to 5e. What do you think of this move, Joseph? Any thoughts?
I think it's very smart for them to do this so they can have money.
Agreed.
Money. It's money, which is fine. I mean,
I don't blame them.
They're going to sell. I'm sure they will. Lots of people like Pathfinder, and a lot of people like 5e, so it will sell.
Yep.
We shall see, though. It's possible that it might not. But what's more interesting to me than whether or not this is a good financial strategy for Paizo, which it probably is the content warning, because this was made back in the day, so it has themes that are just problematic. Presents themes of suicide, ableism, body horror, and human experimentation. So what?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good that you tell people, like, hey, this is like the body horror thing's important. Ableism, no, whatever. But to put warnings on your books, I think are fine for people that don't, like, you don't want your kids to buy books that are, sexually graphic.
Right? All D&D heroes are able. Adventurers are capable folks. Ableism, I mean, come on. It's stupid.
It's stupid. Agreed.
They have to have, this.
Dude, Paizo's super woke. Now, I'll be fair to them. Dude, I love their APs. I think their APs, at least in the 1A days, the one that I had, were 10 times better than anything WotC's ever put out. As far as they're their
forte.
Yeah, their forte. It was strong. Yeah. Some people were making comments like maybe Paizo is getting ready to go out of business. So they're going to convert completely to 5e. I don't think so. I think they got enough fans to keep this going, and they've already done a Savage Worlds thing. I think they're just being smart, dude. They're diversifying. 5e, no matter whether you like it or not, is the king of the hill. There are no challengers. So yeah, dude, make them. I mean, I don't blame them for that. Do it.
And they can.
And
they have a staff. They can pump this thing out, and it's not like they already had the material.
Yeah.
It didn't really probably take all that much doing to switch it over.
No.
Very little. I mean, compared to taking a product from
creating a new one from scratch.
Yeah. This was easy money for them, for sure.
One argument, and I'm not a designer, not really, so I'd love to know, is it hard if, like, imagine I'm a designer, I've been playing Pathfinder 2 or 1, maybe both of them forever, and I've never played 5e. And then Eric Mona drops this in my lap. I'm like, yeah, I can convert it, but I got to go learn 5e. So that could be a little bit of extra work, Whereas if it said convert to 1e or 3.5, you're like, yeah, I know that game.
Yeah, but most of the monsters translate over.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much just straight across.
They're D&D-ish monsters.
Yeah. Goblins have always been low-level challenges. Kobolds the same, whether they're dragon aspected or what were they, dogmen before?
Dogman originally an OD&D in first edition, second edition. Then I think maybe second, they started becoming more draconic related.
So yeah, it's not that hard. I don't know what kind of monsters are in this. So if it's only 3 adventures, it probably doesn't go very high, 10th or 12th level probably.
First to 10th, I think they said.
First to 10th. So they're not using anything particularly complicated.
No. And I played a 5e campaign, ran a 5e campaign from 1 to 10, and the game works pretty well. I mean, it's, like I said before, it's levels 1 to 3 are a little dicey. 4, 5, and 6 are pretty safe. Past 5 or 6, you're safe.
Yeah. Right, Darth. It's smart. Selling your material to as many players as possible. It may draw some new players to your system.
Do it, man. That's what I say.
Yeah. All right. So smart, and not unexpected, really.
Now here's something that's not terribly smart. Our next little lanky poo.
Let me drag that back up there.
Yeah. So in Immortal X-Men 1, Marvel is not so subtly implying, more or less saying, that Jesus Christ is a mutant. Now look, I'm a Christian, make no bones about it. I'm not like deeply offended by this. I am not angry. I think it's stupid, and I think it's very what's the word, double standardy. Why don't you do that with Muhammad? Why don't you do it with Vishnu? Why don't you do it with some Jewish Abraham? They won't attack other faiths, but it seems like they're very comfortable. Attack's a strong word. They won't make fun of or be sacrilegious to other faiths, but they're more than happy to do the Christianity.
Yeah, it's the politically correct and expedient thing to do. The thing is, what happens here is, let me see if that will.
Yeah, this chick here, the redhead, she's a leader of a group called the Five, and that's Exodus, the villain, who is now kind of a friend of the X-Men.
But he refers to Jesus as the Nazarene mutant.
Yes.
And the character is Catholic, according to him.
Yes, he is Catholic-ish.
But someone who's a believer isn't going to believe that Jesus was a mutant.
No.
Because believing in Jesus means you believe he is God.
Yeah. And it's funny, they talk about, well, you've done more than him. You raised 5 people. She apparently, her and this group called the Five are able to bring mutants back from the House of M debacle or whatever killed all the mutants in some storyline. And she's brought a lot of them back. And you've resurrected more than he did. Him resurrecting people is not the key to Jesus. That's just an illustration of his power, not to get too religious oriented, but the fact that he came back from the dead himself and was a propitiation for sins, that's the key for the Christian faith. But hey, you're right, and that he's God. I mean, if you deny that he's God, I think the only other conclusion you can make is that he's crazy dude. I mean, if you don't think he's God, then he's a lunatic who claimed he was God. No matter how good. I think that's a C.S. Lewis quote or some variant of his quote.
Right. Because right. It's just weird. What? Yeah. But so considering how many times in modern day comic book writers or the artists, maybe both or one or the other, I don't know, they insert themselves into their comics one way or another.
Yeah.
And so maybe he's not or she's not inserting him or herself directly, but maybe the beliefs, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of that's going on.
Yeah.
And maybe this is that, or maybe they're just saying this is a crazy, evil dude who thinks Jesus was a mutant. That might be, because there's not been any other stuff. The articles that we've seen just refer to these panels.
Yes.
And so it's possible that they are telling us Jesus isn't God, was just a mutant,
right?
Through comic books,
right?
Or they're displaying this dude as a bit of a nutbag.
Yeah, and if he's a nutbag, okay. And if he's not, and they're telling us Jesus is God, you have your right to your opinion. That's okay. Now, I can't dissuade you, and I've learned over the many years you can't logic someone into become a believer.
Right.
But and by that I mean it doesn't matter what amount of logic or examples you give there. You can't prove you exist. Whatever. Okay, fine. Yeah. So, but
it's boring too.
It's boring too.
I mean,
yeah.
Jesus just was a mutant. That's all.
Yeah.
Yawn. Nothing special.
But in the end, it's not like I don't read a lot of super woke crap, but I do see a lot of cowardice. Next thing I want to see is I want to see them jab Muhammad right in his nutsack.
But they're not going to.
No, they won't.
I mean, they will respect the Muslims' sensibilities with not mentioning Muhammad in comic books because that's a big no-no. They will mention Islam and someone being a Muslim, but I don't think that they will talk too much about Muhammad himself, and they certainly won't have any drawings of him because that will drive them crazy because according to them, you're not supposed to do that. But and they didn't do that here with Jesus either. But
you could. But as a Christian, I'm not going to like come cut your head off because you.
No, there's no prohibition.
We did something hideous like drew Jesus in a dress, put him in drag, and put him on a stripper pole. Yeah, I think it's sacrilegious, and I would have I would be probably pretty upset with that, but I wouldn't be like wanting to cut your head off. You know, I'm not too fond of you making fun of my Lord, but hey, you do what you want. You know, so.
Yes, Shadow. If they drew Muhammad, they would get firebombed. Yes, they would because that's what's happened in the past. Charlie Hebdo. And Tim, yes, when South Park attempted to be sacrilegious toward Islam, they got censored, much to the disappointment of the creators. They got death threats and refused to remove it, but Comedy Central did.
Dude, you can say what you want about South Park. Those dudes aren't afraid of nothing.
Right.
And I actually respect them, even though they've made fun of all sorts of Christian stuff and other things, but they're not afraid.
Yeah. And which one? It's not South Park. Maybe it was. What's the one with Family Guy? I think it's Family Guy.
Yeah.
It's either Family Guy or The Simpsons, where they have every once in a while they'll have Jesus show up.
Yeah.
And he'll be this really short Middle Eastern dude. And people will say all this. He basically walked out while they were trying to say what he looked like. He was like, no, I'm pretty much a short dude because that's what we were back then or whatever. But nobody lost their lunch over it. Not in any real. I mean, I'm sure that there are some folks who probably wrote in and said bad things to them.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't amount to much. Yeah.
Well, in the end, here's the thing. I mean, people forget, they get mad. Well, I've seen Christians do this. Of course you have. Because Christians, like everybody else, they're fallen.
Yeah.
They're fallen people. We're not perfect. And some of us are much less perfect than others.
Right.
I'll include myself in that.
Right. So, yeah, if we were, but here's the thing. If you depict somebody of one of the protected classes as lesser, you're an istophobe.
Whatever.
But if they denigrate Jesus, which that's really what they're doing.
Sure they are.
Whether they know it or not. You know, saying he was just a mutant and nothing special.
Correct.
Is doing that.
Yes.
And but you know, they'll get away with it. That was cool, their buddies will say.
Yeah.
Ha ha, Jesus is a mutant.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But in the end, I think we're probably making too much of it already. I just wanted to point that out, that it's, it's the hypocrisy that bothers me is all. So
But that's them. It's nothing to be surprised about.
No, it's not shocking remotely.
Plus they don't know how to tell good stories.
Fact.
So with that said, are we ready to go on to the main topic?
Yeah, let's jump into some discussion of corporeal undead.
Yes. So we have a definition.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have two here.
Right. I kind of in the second one, though I have a link to it. One of them is just a Wikipedia page, and they talk about it in vagaries. But I kind of like the second one.
I'll go ahead and read the Wikipedia.
Yeah,
go ahead. We can compare.
Yeah, sure.
The Wikipedia entry says the undead are beings of mythology, or beings in mythology, legend, or fiction that are deceased but behave as if No, I think this is the same. Most commonly behave as if they were alive. No, it's slightly different. Most commonly, the term refers to corporeal forms of formerly alive humans, such as mummies, vampires, and zombies, who have been reanimated by supernatural means, technology, or disease. In some cases, for example, in Dungeons and Dragons, the term also includes incorporeal forms of the undead, such as ghosts. The undead are featured in belief systems of most cultures and appear in many works of fantasy and horror fiction. The term is also occasionally used for real-life attempts to resurrect the dead with science and technology, from early experiments like Robert E. Cornish's to future sciences such as chemical brain preservation and cryonics.
In the second one, I didn't know that the title Undead was, he considered that for his Dracula novel title. And he says this is the second definition, because the first part of the second definition is pretty much what Joe read. And then it says he might be responsible for the modern sense of the word. It does appear in English before Stoker, but with the more literal sense of alive or not dead, for which citations can be found in Oxford English Dictionary. Stoker's use of the term refers only to vampires, and the extension to other types of supernatural beings arose later. Most commonly, it is now taken to refer to supernatural beings which at one time had been alive and continue to display some aspects of life after death, but the usage is highly variable. That's true. So undead's a little mixed bag.
Yeah. So you mean Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula?
Correct. Bram. Good old
As
Bram.
in he first used the word but it was hyphenated.
Right.
Or maybe he popularized it. It might have been in use, but he popularized it.
Yeah, he referred to Dracula as the undead, as he was the one undead guy initially, before he made others. And we're going to be discussing these self-same skeletons, in particular skeletons, zombies, ghouls, ghasts, wights, vampires, liches, death knights, and mummies, mostly in a D&D context, though we might touch on other games periodically, I guess we might.
Yeah, Frankenstein's a different creature, I think, Shadow and Son.
Yep.
You could call him undead, perhaps.
Right. And they might logically refer to him as undead, but he's an animated construct, really, because he was put together by pieces and parts of bodies.
Well, the other thing is his pieces and parts were put together and then brought to actual life because he was a living creature.
Right.
And under his own power, intelligent and self-aware. So, and not rotting or anything of that nature. And the only thing different from Frankenstein and humanity, apart from his origin, is he was much more physically capable, but his mind was a little bit evil.
he could in the movies he had a bride, but he could not reproduce, I'm sure.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that in the book, but yeah, who knows?
It's an option.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's a DM. I would say probably not. So I did a deep dive, as you notice in the notes, looking at where these different monsters appeared. I thought it was interesting that the Lich was not in OD&D initially. Hey, Legion. In fact, the original OD&D books had ghouls, mummies, skeletons, vampires, wights, and zombies. That was it in the white books.
The white books, okay.
Yeah.
Did more come out in like the other supplements?
I'm going to say probably. I know the Greyhawk supplement added the Lich. Those that are more in the know might tell me if I missed something. So there literally weren't wraiths in the OD&D books. So that's interesting to note.
Do we know if that came from? Well, we haven't gotten into the.
Oh, my bad.
Incorporeal.
Just incorporeal. My bad.
That's fine. I'm just saying. Do we know if that came from legend or if that was something that they invented to fill out the ranks?
Well, it's very interesting because I think if you look at the OD&D books, the way they describe monsters is purely in like a single paragraph form, and it is more of a legend. It does reek of some mythology, and then their stats are fairly uniform on a different page. So they would have them. So you would read a couple pages, and they would have them description, and then you'd flip it over, and then there's a chart with all the stats for the monsters, and not a lot of variety there. I can't recall if they had the energy drain effect with the wight or not, or vampire. It seems like they did even early on, but we're going to talk about that specifically. Beckme did not have. I left something out in Beckme. They did have the skeletons, but they didn't have the lich. Not even in the rule cyclopedia.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see the lich unless I just skimmed over it. That was.
I wonder where that comes from.
Yeah, the lich. I didn't do. I decided not to do a deep dive simply because there's just too many of them.
Too many.
To do a mythological deep dive. And honestly, if you want to hear some cool deep dives on individual creatures, I would direct you to John and Hannah at Red Dice Diaries. They do some really good stuff with some unique monsters, and they go into the mythological background. I was surprised that the Death Knight didn't show up to the Fiend Folio. That's where he first appeared. I had not recalled that.
Well, that could be because Fiend Folio was written in by some folks in the UK. So that might have been a UK legend.
True, but as a player, I always thought of the Death Knight as a warrior lich. He was the fighter version of the lich. Right? Yeah,
he had a couple of magic powers, but
yes, he did. He could,
but not very many. But the ones that he did have
were super good. Like yeah, they were pretty boss. AD&D actually completed all these creatures in one. They had both the ghoul and the ghast, the lich, the mummy, skeleton, the wight, the vampire, and the zombie. After that, different versions of D&D placed the monsters in different books, though I think 4E and 5E kept them all in the core book. All these, so these are iconic. 3E did a lot with variants. They had like the mummy and the mummy lord. They had, what else did they have? Skeleton and 47 different. It was basically a template you could tack onto any creature. Have a hill giant skeleton. They had stats for it. Shadow makes a good point. The skeleton warrior, that was kind of a separate dude back in, was it first or second edition? And he was like a skeleton, but he had minimum like 9 levels of fighter. So he was a fighter lord who was undead. He didn't have the powers of the Death Knight, but he could kick some serious butt. I know I surprised you guys sometimes, like, oh, it's a dumb skeleton. And then he ends up kicking your teeth. Oh, man, we got to get serious. This thing's legit. Yeah. Shadow said Death Knights are undead anti-paladins. But I just thought it was an interesting exploration through the editions. It was funny that both AD&D 2E got them all in one book with some variants. 3X did a lot of variants and templates, but they put the Death Knight in a separate book in Monster Manual 2. So we could give a nod to 2E, 4E, and 5E for putting those classic monsters all in one monster manual. So you have to go out and buy 2 books for those editions, which was
sure. Although you did have to buy a new edition.
Well, yeah, of course you did. You didn't have to spend. Well, see, back in the day in second edition, what were the prices of the books?
They were much lower than they are now.
I mean, they felt expensive then, though. To be fair.
Sure. But the player's handbook was like $15.
Yeah, and 1E.
In 1E, it was 15 because it was so thin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the prices of the other ones, but I don't think they were that much more.
Did you know on the initial release of 3E, it was only $19.95 for the player's handbook for like the first 6 months or a year?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of like saying, yeah, we want everybody to buy it. Kind of a nod for the back in the day when they were cheap.
Well, and a big mechanical change. So it makes sense they would probably try to push it and say, hey, buy this because it's very different. So I guess as far as that goes, I think it was one of the reasons I picked those is those seem to be the creatures that were universally across all the editions. You know, they were in the monster manual essentially from the beginning.
Right.
We're needing a couple of supplements, but
I mean, there's a lot more even corporeal undead.
Oh yeah. There are some of
them are specific to different editions.
Yeah, he just said the skeleton warrior. There's the bone claw was a late 3rd edition monster. There's just a variety of creatures. The walking corpse or the hulking corpse, and there was all kinds of interesting things that came out, especially for 3rd. I did like the 3rd edition templates where you could tack. Oh, I think Darth says that templates for corpse creatures, skeletal creatures. You just add Yeah, you can make really nice. He said, I know there was a templates for corpse creature and skeleton creature. Just add anything. It did make it simple to create custom creatures. In 3rd edition, I don't know if I would say simple, but if you wanted to follow the rules, but it was sweet to have that template there. You're like, oh, I want him to fight this werewolf. How about an undead werewolf? I did that. I did a vampiric werewolf once in 1st edition. That was one of the many ringers I did. But you know, yeah, are you going to fight a storm giant? How about a lich storm giant? That'd be fun.
Yeah, because a common, ordinary, garden variety storm giant isn't bad enough as it is. You got to go in a vampiric template.
Correct, dude. You got to make it fun. I want your 2nd level characters to have a challenge.
Yes. We would be challenged on who was going to get out of the room first.
Revenants, that's interesting. Were Revenants corporeal? I think they were corporeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. So people are listing some of the more fun corporeal creatures that didn't get a lot of. Oh, and the variants like the Juju zombies. I love those. Musk creepers coming out of them and stuff. That was pretty so yeah, that was some good times. But I would say those guys are the core. Can you think of one? Would you put another one on the list than the ones that I listed as sort of the big? What are they? There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 big ones. I mean,
the corporeals. I don't think so. A lot of the other ones are particular edition's flavor, or got brought in under a particular edition. But those guys, I think, really are the ones that are cross editions. I mean, I know that they had the Death Knight and Kryn, but that wasn't the Kryn. What was his name? The big Death Knight from Kryn with the 7 wives or whatever. Soth.
Yeah.
The Death Knight didn't start with Lord Soth. It started before that.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
I mean, they came out.
No, not pretty sure. 100%. I mean, the Death Knight was first found in the Fiend Folio. That was well before. Well, yeah, because I don't think Dragonlance. No way, Dragonlance came out in 80. Fiend Folio was like 81. So yeah, I think Lord Soth was just a well done Death Knight.
Yeah,
he became the Death Knight to which all other Death Knights would be compared to. So, and he eventually went to Ravenloft and got stuck there. And got freed. I don't know all the. I know I used him one time in a Ravenloft adventure, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, that was just a little walk down, historical memory lane where these creatures showed up. Like I said, would you add anything to that list, or does that feel like?
I don't think so. I think that's good.
Okay. Next thing I want to discuss, and Joe decided we'd add a little wrinkle tonight, so we're playing off the cuff a little bit. I want to discuss the basic and most long-enduring powers of these undead across the edition. So we may miss something. If someone notices something and says, oh, this is probably more iconic, chime in. Or if I miss something for an edition, that's fine. And then we're going to try to add a wrinkle. Joe and I are going to kind of say, hey, what about if we did this? So I'll start with the skeleton first. So the skeleton generally, across the editions, had low hit dice. 3rd edition broke that rule, where you can make skeletal dragons and skeletal Tyrannosaurus Rexes. And it took bludgeoning weapons to do the full hurtfulness to them, right? Because they had DR in 3rd edition. They had what was it? Was it in 1st edition?
Yeah, 1st edition, it was just half damage.
Or was it, which one? Arrows did 1 point of damage. Was that right?
I just read the description this morning or last night. And
didn't say that?
No, but it's half damage.
Half damage in general, yeah. So, besides that, I don't know what else would be considered iconic.
Okay. So it's not. You don't see it in their stat block.
Mm-hmm.
Like Darth was saying earlier, they have peculiar characteristics from just being a pile of bones.
Yep.
Where you can use them. You can just have them waiting somewhere where there's no air, or there's all full of water, or some other environment gas. I mean, let's say so. Wizard casts gas. What's the stinking cloud, right? So you're in there and you're making saving throws and you're coughing and everything. And normally it's no good to cast it when there's 2 parties fighting, right? Because everybody's caught in it.
You'll hurt your allies.
But if they're skeletons, it's not going to hurt them at all.
Yeah.
So,
or if you open up into a pocket of methane gas while going through a dungeon, you could just like the skeletons would be like, "Hey, we're good," and you guys are starting to faint and pass out, making Constitution or making what was that? A dragon? Was Constitution saves dragon breaths? No, poison. Maybe poison saves back in first edition.
First edition was there was a poison save.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true, and I think that's we have to give Darth Maul credit for that. That's a unique way to use them. Put them in like here's a good story. One of my buddies, Tony. Hey Tony, back in I think he's in Charlestown now. But anyway, he had a character that was actually evil, one of the few evil characters I allowed to exist during a Planescape campaign. And he was a cleric. He was chaotic neutral, of course. And he killed these creatures or humanoids, and he turned them into skeletons. And then he put them, and since he wanted to go into the city, there was a lake outside the town. So he had the skeletons walk down into the lake and just wait for him. And that's where he kept them while he was in town. And you're like, yeah, there's no reason that couldn't happen. They could just stand there, and sink down in the mud a little bit, hold themselves down. Now I wonder buoyancy. I don't know the buoyancy of bones, but I didn't consider that. So
they're depends on how old they are. If they're old enough, they're going to be a little more porous, and they might float, or they might take on some of the water.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
When they're down, that was one of the coolest scenes in that first movie, The Curse of the Black Pearl, when they were walking underneath it. Then you saw the sunlight hit them, and or the moonlight hit them, and they turned into skeletons, and you understood why they were all jumping in the water. So that's cool. Do you have any? What were you wanting us to do, Joe? I kind of was blanking. So take this creature and give an alternate something.
Just some. It might not be any good to do it on the fly because we're old dudes, but essentially we want this to be more useful than us talking about things that a lot of people already know.
Sure.
So I think that what we were just saying is pretty cool with the skeletons, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You don't have to limit them to just there's a graveyard and here's some skeletons. Oh, nobody could think of that. Skeletons and zombies in the graveyard. Well, let's do some other things with them, and so use them in places where you wouldn't expect people to be because it would be too harsh of an environment. They would be you could use them all in the underground.
Oh, and Darth made a good point. Look at what he said at 821. You see, it's all about armor and weapons. Almost any armor or weapons would hold motionless. Most or motionless corpses down. Yeah. So corpses, whether they're zombies or skeletons, would indeed be weighted down by their armor. So if you have them in chainmail and a sword, dude, they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay on the bottom of that water. So that was a pretty cool move, my buddy Tony. So I'm giving him a little props here. You want to describe the next creature?
Yeah, this is zombie, right?
Yep.
Generally low hit dice, just like the skeletons, though they're one tick up on the ladder, one rung up. But they move slow and slashing weapons to hurt. Although that was not until I think third edition, maybe second. First edition, they didn't take any less damage from any weapon.
Really?
I was looking at both of them because I couldn't remember when both the skeleton and the zombie because I couldn't remember when that started.
Yeah.
I remember an old illustration of a skeleton where it was supposed to be like a cone of cold, cold ray or something at the skeleton, and it redirected it back at the caster.
Oh wow!
But we were all like, "Where does that come from?" But don't know.
Well, I do think you could add a wrinkle to. Well, I'll talk about it in a minute. I have some ideas on zombies. All right, but for a zombie, I mean, them moving slow is significant. I know in third edition they always went last.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
because they were depicted as the slow-moving zombie things,
and they could either move or attack. They couldn't do both.
Right. So I don't think that was the case in second or first edition. I'm not sure about second. I don't have that monster manual.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if they were considered like they moved at half speed or something.
Yeah. So they were a little bit more meaty skeletons, really.
Yeah, they can be used in similar fashion. Of course, they have the George Romero effect. Everybody thinks about a giant pack of zombies, hordes of zombies coming through. That's a terrifying trope.
But the zombies that are in the movies are not the zombies that are in the D&D game.
Generally, no.
Because those zombies in the movies can all spread their zombie-ness to other people. Yep. You get killed by a zombie, you become a zombie, or with some, depends on what IP it is. What's the one? The
Walking Dead.
Where they didn't necessarily become zombies because they were killed by zombies. It was because everybody has a virus. Yeah. And as soon as you die, it takes over.
Yeah, Cal said it depends if they're infectious. Now, our buddy at RDD, Red Dice Diary, John, had a sweet little episode this past week where he talked about that, how you can make that a thing in D&D. I think that would be fun to have zombies that can infect you. And if you take actual hit point damage, that could, or we give them a little, he said, maybe not just hit point damage, because, hit point damage would be the zombie clubbing you with their fist. But if they manage to bite you, and you could say, maybe every other attack, or roll a d6, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, they actually bite this time. And then you make a con save or some kind of saving throw, and perhaps you get infected, and you have so many days to get some sort of help, or you will turn into a zombie.
Right. There's a lot of ways to do that. And that would be one way to make them a little more deadly. However, I think we have, I know you have the wight and vampire next in the list of describing.
Yeah,
we should probably put ghoul and ghast next because
of power wise. Yeah. So I'll do ghoul and ghast.
Yeah, but just
sure.
The ghoul is more what these movie zombies are.
Because they eat people. Yes.
They eat people and spread.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. So the ghoul in D&D, of course, have the eat people thing there. They tend to be carrion eaters. They are, and the ghast is like the boss ghoul. He's like the tougher ghoul. He has a stench power. Okay? In the old school, he had a stinking cloud kind of emanating from you at all times. Paralysis was their most dangerous power. Though in AD&D, elves for some reason were immune to paralysis. That was weird.
Well,
paralysis
in first edition, the ghoul didn't paralyze them, but the ghast does.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I did not see that. But I think the ghouls add so much. I love those creatures, but they're a lower hit dice monster that, especially in certain versions of D&D, you better be really careful bringing those in against player characters.
Don't they get 3 attacks around?
They do in standard D&D. That is correct.
That's very deadly for a low level party, especially if each attack can carry that paralyzing.
Yeah, and it can. I mean, I remember, you got 3 saves around if I hit you, and I know that. And I think that's even dangerous. I would say it's dangerous to even mid-level characters, because if they hit you, now the advantage would be mid-level characters, 5th, 6th, 7th level might be a lot harder for them to hit. But if you had a whole bunch of them, you don't want to be making 2 and 3 saves around, dude. I don't care what those are.
Although I think Cure Light Wounds, a healing spell from I think in first edition, or it might be old D&D, cures the paralysis.
Like me or old D&D, yeah, that's how it worked to cure paralysis. That was a very generous interpretation. With ghouls, I mean, I like the idea. The take on a ghoul that would be interesting is, what if they were not, and they are smarter than the average undead. I kind of would like to take them down the road of, if you've ever seen the TV show Supernatural, ghouls were one of the monsters they fought. I would love to see a ghoul or a ghast be super intelligent and be able to look like a person, and just, he maybe looks a little paler, and he because of his, and he entertains people and he eats them when he does, but to be more a little more sinister, I would make the ghouls a little more like people and make them a little at least that would be an alternate take, where you couldn't so easily go, oh look, it's undead.
Yeah, we're kind of trading some around different tropes between vampires and them, because that's kind of a vampire too.
Sure.
They eat people, they trick them into thinking that they're just people, and they bite them in the neck when they get a chance.
Yeah, and there's a way to get some mileage out of it. Someone goes, oh my God, Count Daverall is a vampire because he looks pale. We're gonna watch him. Put up a crucifix, or put garlic in front of me. He's like, I'm not really a fan of garlic, no, I don't want to care for it. Or no, I like garlic. Thanks for thank you. And so it would be a good twist to surprise people, especially low level characters. You're third level, and I have you meet Count whatever, and your guy's like, holy crap, Randy's putting a vampire against us, which back in the day that wouldn't have been that shocking. You'd be really nervous about dealing with him and would go through a lot of hoops, jump through hoops that may not help you. Let's immerse him in running water, grapple him, and throw him in there. Oh crap, we grappled him. All our fighters have gone paralyzed. So
right, yeah, I don't know, Cal. Oh crap, I keep getting this thing from Brave. They want to show me ads so I can make more crypto. Anyway, Count Chocula should be feared according to Cal.
Of course he should.
He's not really interested in anything but eating cereal, though. That we know of.
I like my cereal. So, yeah.
Carbs.
But yeah, so
that's 100% carbs right there.
So I think I would say the paralysis and the stinkiness are the more iconic powers. Though I think in later editions, I don't think elves kept that immunity to ghoul paralysis, and I don't think Cure Light Wounds kept the ability to heal.
All that changes. All those little details change. Going back to skeletons and zombies, though.
Yeah.
You can mush them together a little bit and throw in some special sauce and make them Evil Dead.
Oh, dig it.
Yeah, like all the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
I mean, this is if you want to have a lot of undead and you don't want to just have skeletons, or maybe you don't want to have skeletons at all as they're presented. So why not give them red glowing eyes and make them intelligent to a degree?
Yeah.
And instead of, because the way skeletons work, it says that evil, so for the first edition skeletons are made by evil spellcasters.
Right.
And they really only exist in areas that have evil. But the monsters themselves are not, they don't possess an alignment. They're just animated skeletons. And so they're perfect for a low-level crew because they don't do a whole lot of damage. They don't really think very much. They just have an opponent and they attack them.
They're nearly constructs because they're given missions. They'll just stand still and do nothing for the most part.
Yeah,
I grab.
They just follow orders.
Yeah,
and only simple orders. They only follow simple orders. So if you want to mix it up and be a little more interesting, throw it into the Evil Dead realm, and they still don't have to be phenomenally powerful against normal folks. Yes, but against adventurers, you can still have them range in power from a lowly Evil Deadite that can still be taken out by a first level party, because essentially all that Ash had to do was blast him in the noggin, right?
Yes.
I don't even think he had to get a headshot. Did he have to get a headshot? I can't remember for sure.
Did you know that? I just looked. Don't forget, Undead had their immunity to sleep, charm, hold, death, magic, poisons, and cold-based spells.
Okay.
In second edition.
Right.
Yeah,
so that, I don't know if that was something in first edition, if they had the undead type and they had all those immunities.
Well, I'm kind of doing a quick check here. I'm kind of wondering if that gets brought up. They are sleep, charm, hold, cold-based spells. Yeah, in first edition. Their speed, their movement was fairly slow, 6 inches, which would be the equivalent of half of most humanoids.
Correct.
Unless they're in heavy armor, then that changes.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you think, so maybe especially for D&D, some of those immunities would be important. You can't charm undead. I've always thought of this, and this is something I use that I've heard I actually remember an article during third edition heyday that Sean Kane Reynolds wrote that was very much against this. But I think he was against it from a gamist viewpoint. I'd like to know what you think of this. For a while, since undead were not alive, especially skeletons and zombies, I said you couldn't blind them, and they don't really see. I use that, and this is a powerful alternate ability, let them sense the living. I really like that, actually. I think that's a very, now short of or even, you could say maybe vampires can't, but if you're undead like a ghoul, maybe not. I don't know, maybe. But skeletons and zombies, even zombies, after a while, your optic
they just rot.
rots away. You can't literally see. Okay, you see by magic. All right. But what do you see? I would say you more like you sense the living. That's plus there used to be a spell called Protect from Undead, and I'd be like, well, that means that you would break their sense of their ability to sense the living, and they were effectively blind when you're around. But I've always thought that was a cool power, though Sean Reynolds thought that it was way too good, and Cal agrees. Sense living is very powerful. I agree. But
it is.
But I'm kind of okay with that because, to be fair, I'm biased.
It would be blocked by the same things that block regular vision.
Yeah.
As in walls, floors, ceilings, all that stuff. So if they sense living, but they would also need to sense stuff that wasn't living, or they wouldn't be able to navigate.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
What the article brought up that you're referring to is that you're adding power to the monster, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think with skeletons and zombies, if you just allow them to know that living things are around, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Now, if they pinpoint, and like say you're invisible. If you're invisible to most things, they just can't see you unless they have other senses. So you're giving the skeleton and zombie another sense where they can sense you.
True.
Or you're hiding in shadows where most things would not notice you, but the undead would because they can sense living. So and that's the kind of point he was bringing up.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think he's right. It is powerful. Cal says the dead don't just go after worms or gophers, so it's also targeting. Fair enough. I think that's good arguments. But the skeletons and I believe the zombies both were neutral alignment, which is interesting.
Right.
You don't have like some monsters, as some undead are described as having a hate on for the living, right? But zombies and skeletons, not so much. They're just neutral.
Right, and Legion of Myths says, and I remember this too, there's a specific invisibility to undead spell in 2E.
And of course, I did as a younger DM would say, because I like that, I would say the invisibility spell didn't protect you from undead. That might just be too good and probably too much trouble for a young wizard who gets invisibility spell at 3rd level, and he's very excited about it. And then I hose him with a stupid room full of zombies he's trying to sneak through because he thinks, they can't see me. But what is the point of invisibility to undead then?
Right. So the thing is it's a table issue. So if you at your table that this is appropriate for the undead to have, and it works for your table, and no one has an issue, especially you as the DM who has made the rule, then fine. Who cares?
And it makes the spell invisibility undead worthwhile. Why else? Why not just cast invisibility?
But I think you should, if you as a DM are saying that they can sense undead, you need to probably define that some, not just say they can sense it.
Sense the living?
Sense the living. So there's been DMs that I've played under that they had specters under that are in the floor, and they would just stick their finger through the floor and be able to just boop, 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 and take all your levels, and you wouldn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, while that's cool sounding, it's cheesy.
Yeah.
So it's cheap. It's a cheap way to go, and you have no chance to defend that.
So sense them, that's fine. Maybe it defeats invisibility and darkness and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think if there's intervening barriers, that would probably interfere with that.
And I think if thinking of them as mostly animated and controlled, they wouldn't attack gophers and worms anyway, unless the master said attack gophers and worms.
Right. Well, let's anything that comes in this treasure vault, you kill.
Right. They might kill. Yeah.
So if a worm happened to come across, I don't know if it would do anything. It'd be up to the DM to decide that.
Yeah.
Or gopher or small animal.
I would think a skeleton would step right on it.
Yeah.
Or stab with its sword. Yeah. So I do think that that's just a side note. The sense living is I agree with Legion.
Yeah, Legion. The DM was very competitive.
Yeah.
And competitiveness is fine to a point. He says, for those who are listening and not watching, the Spectre trick is a GM trying to beat the PCs. Yes, I agree. That's not how the Spectre is meant to act. I think he also was doing it because we were maybe a little tougher than if the specters just jumped in the room, we might be able to beat them. So that was a way to use them against higher level opponents than normal and still get mileage out of them. Now, that might also be one of the excuses.
And I agree with Shadow. It's kind of ridiculous. What about this though? Because I remember there was a module and I used it once. They had specters or a wraith. And we're getting down in Corporal Road. Maybe we'll leave that alone because we're talking about specters.
So with the zombies, we're done with the zombies, I think.
And the ghouls. You want to do wights and
ghast, wight and vampire. Let's see, wights. Wights are I was thinking you meant wraith, but that's incorporeal. The corporeal, huh?
Wights.
Wights. I am drawing a blank to specifically what they are.
Okay, I will. You know what, Joe? I'm going to give you a first edition monster manual peek, and just know you're not supposed to be looking at the monster manual player. So I'm taking a special exception for you. They're humanoids, human wads, and they are has lost its old meaning of a person and come to stand for these undead humans who typically inhabit barrow mounds or catacombs, most evil and hateful. Now here's our first undead that's got real hate. The ghouls are hungry, right? Yeah, white power. They can destroy any life form they encounter. They shun bright light and hate sunlight. They exist simultaneously in the material plane, so they're physical beings, but they have a connection to the negative energy plane, which gives them their most devastating power.
Level drain.
Mid hit dice, not terribly high hit dice, though.
But it's still level drain, right?
Yes.
And you get hit, you get drained. There's no saving throw.
Yes. And if you get dropped to 0 levels,
you become a wight.
Correct. Now we're going to talk about level drain in a second topic tonight. And specifically.
And just as a throwback to the ghoul and the ghast, they procreate, which is gross. But
correct.
So they bite you. You can become paralyzed, and then you can become one of them. If you lose all your hit points and they don't completely consume you, you can become one of them. Both the ghoul and the ghast do that.
The ghoul, the ghast, and the wights are all intelligent, as Mr. Cal pointed out.
They are somewhat intelligent. Yeah.
Intelligence. Yeah.
I think wights are smarter than the ghoul and the ghast.
Yes. Looking at an intelligence, what are they? Average 8 to 10. So human intelligence. Yeah.
I think the ghoul and the ghast are a little below, perhaps.
Yeah. But and they can only be hit by magical weapons. The wights turn it up a notch, dude.
Well, they're supernatural.
Yeah, so you can't just bring normal stuff to them. You can't throw a wight against first level party with no magic weapons or silver weapons. They're all going to die.
Right.
Plus, their first level, they're probably all going to die anyway. So, but yeah, vampires do similar things, so they get a few extra goodies, right?
Yeah. So vampires are, the Bram Stoker dude.
Super genius.
Yeah, they're very smart. They can be, and often were depicted as high level wizards in a lot of places.
Yep.
Though they don't need to be.
No.
To be feared, because they can hit very hard, their damage is pretty good, and then they drain 2 levels.
Yeah, 2 levels. Oh yeah, and they could fly. They had tons of powers. Depending on your take, there was a few varieties of vampires with D&D, especially when Ravenloft came out. They did the Nosferatu. I don't remember all the changes. But vampires were terrifying because they were smart. They were commanders. They could shape change. They could fly. And they drained 2
levels. They beat them down, and then they turn into gas and run away.
Correct. And
regenerate.
Yeah.
Get in their dirt, regenerate, and come back and smack you around some.
Yeah. So, yeah, there are special ways to kill them. So vampires were pretty, even if they were mid, say they were like in 2nd edition, they were 8+3 hit dice as default. 3rd edition allowed you to truly add character levels. Strahd was also an exception in 1st edition. So vampires were conceivably quite terrifying. I think you could do lots of stuff with the. Do you still have that book, Joe? You had a book on the mythology of the vampire.
I don't know where that book went.
400 or 500 different.
Well, vampires across space and time, different cultures, different, from way back in the day to present. And then I read this when I was in high school, and I was having vampire nightmares almost every night. I was like, another vampire, another vampire, another vampire, all the time.
Right.
And so I got in this book club, and there's this book on vampires. I was like, well, let me read this. Let me see what will happen. And then they went away. And there was a very different, lots of very different takes on the vampire.
Yep.
One of them was essentially a hag. Basically, it jumped on this dude's back and drained the life out of him slowly.
Yeah.
And the only way to kill it is to essentially commit suicide.
Whoa.
The way he did it was he drove his cart. It's in back in the 1800s.
Sure.
A period type story, and he drove his cart over a cliff.
Whoa.
But instead of letting the thing fly off of him, he grabbed a hold of it, and they both died. So it was insidious, and it had an ability to keep people from. They thought it was like a cloak or something. When someone looked at him, they could, if he would tell, and it kept him from telling about it. So it always stayed hidden.
Yeah, Shadow and Sun mentions Dragon Magazine having good articles on alternate vamps for sure, and Legion mentioned Ravenloft. Yeah, they had all kinds of cool variants. So that's pretty cool. I would say vampires are probably top level and one of the top ones people are afraid of, and you should be. 2 levels at a pop would even make a 10th level character go, holy crap.
Plus their hit point damage when they hit you. I think it was D12, something like that. It was a lot.
It was pretty good.
Because they were strong. They were like they had exceptional strength, I believe.
Yeah, I believe there was a Dragon. I believe it was a Dragon Magazine article after Ravenloft's 2nd edition where someone talked about a patriarch vampire, and that was the one that was so old that he drained 4 levels to hit. They suggested making Strahd that, and I was like, "Holy balls! He would only be a challenge of very high level characters." But yeah,
right. A couple of hits on even a mid-level character, and they're dust, or another vampire. Hello, new vampire. Go beat your buddies.
Yeah, and you had to have magic or silver weapons to hurt them. Vampires, and you had a whole ritual you had to do to kill them. It's they're no joke. So, yeah, I think going down the history line would be a great way to kind of mix it up and do some different sorts of vampires. Reading your Ravenloft stuff if you got it, and seeing some good varieties.
Well, see, the thing is though, with vampires,
mm-hmm.
the thing that you can do, like this was one of the stories in this book, the way that this vampire could get away with being around the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 1, he used sunscreen because it was a more modern tale. 2, he wore a lot of clothes, and 3, he put his grave dirt in his shoes. Right. So Randy had to has been pulled away from his computer. So yeah, yes, 2 levels to hit for vampires is very tough. Shadow. It would be cool to dig up that Dragon Magazine article from years ago. It'd be cool if I could figure out if someone knew what issue that was. That'd be great. So Legion of Myth, what book does that appear in? The 2nd edition Ravenloft hardcover? Because he's saying here that vampires in Ravenloft had 5 age categories, and if he remembers correctly, and that would be cool to research. It's always good to put a different spin on these monsters because, again, it's something that I think that we've touched on in previous episodes and previous live streams. Players like to memorize the monster books, and you do want some continuity. The game has rules, and you want to try to follow them somewhat closely. Although, cool, Legion, thank you. You want to have some continuity so that the players know what to expect. You don't want to change everything around. They make their characters. You don't just change the spells or whatever on them without telling them. But mixing up the monsters now and again keeps them on their toes because you don't want them memorizing the monster books. They can memorize the player's handbook all they want.
Yeah, but the monster book's kind of a, you got to keep them on their toes.
So what was I saying before you took off?
I don't remember. Something about vampires.
Vampires make good opponents without a whole lot of changes.
Yes.
Because they aren't simple.
No.
They are living, intelligent creatures that can have minions, and they have lots of different abilities that can keep the opponent of the players, outside of just one encounter. You don't want necessarily to have the players turn the corner and there's Dracula.
No, you got
not really. I mean, it's okay. So maybe they're going through the dungeon, whatever it is. Oh, thank you, Legion. Van Richten's Guide to Vampires, 7 age categories. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
and that's the second edition book, right? So that'd be cool to get. Hopefully, it's not too expensive on eBay.
Fledgling the Patriarch. Okay, so maybe that's what
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but vampires, you can use them on multiple, especially if you just add a few character levels to them. Or you don't really even have to do that. You can say that they are wizards, right? And then just write down what spells they cast. You don't have to give them wizard levels. They have plenty of punch already. Yeah.
Some little parrot cat Willow. This is our mostly Maine Coon. She's probably going to turn that light out.
And if you are Randy, you will have them use a greatsword and still drain your levels through the greatsword.
Yes, because that's fun. Better yet, give a vampire with a long sword. Let him have a life-draining longsword, and he attacks with both his hand and his sword.
Yeah. That sounds great. And
you never miss out on the fun.
Yeah, and they get 2 attacks around.
Correct. So there you go.
Yeah.
So fun times.
I'm pretty sure they get 2 from their base powers, if I'm remembering right.
Well,
anyway,
in the originals, I'm not sure if in second edition, here's the monstrous manual.
But yeah, they're complex opponents, so no one should take them lightly. Even a decently high level party.
They could turn a high level party into a low level party pretty fast. 1 attack according to the rules.
Oh, okay.
But they did a D6 plus 4, so it was not bad.
I don't remember them just getting 1 attack.
I may have misread it back in the day. Dude, I love vampires.
But still, it's good to have some variety for people who can't help memorizing or just remembering.
Yeah,
once you've fought a few vampires, if as a player, you know what they can do.
Same control issue, right?
And if the vampires have the same weaknesses as traditional vampires do from lore that we know outside of the game, then they're not. Then it's a simple matter to take them out. Just going with the way they did it in Bram Stoker. I mean, it wasn't necessarily exactly simple for them. They had to chase him and make him. Spoiler alert! In the books, they had to destroy all of his caskets that he had outside of his home, and they drove him back to his home, and then they beat him there and destroyed all the caskets there.
Yes,
and so it wasn't exactly simple, but knowing what they Van Helsing found out about the vampires, because apparently
there was 6 or 8 of them, maybe 10 of them, maybe more, trying to defeat him. I mean, people in that book, the cowboy guys, and they
had a crew, and with him and them, it was not really depicted as being easy,
right?
But it was straightforward.
Yes. Okay, but mummies, I think they're best known for their deadly rotting disease.
Oh boy! Do you become a mummy, or do you just rot to death?
You get the rotting disease, and you had to. You could slowly. Did you turn into a mummy? That's a good question.
Or does it turn you into something else?
Yeah.
Or does it just rot you to death?
I'm trying. I feel like you just died.
Oh yes, Shadow and Son's bringing up something. Here, I think he is. Let me read it. Shadow and Son says the right magic items are enough to change the vamps in question, just like an evil wizard. What he has or knows can make them very different. But clerics. One of the bad things about AD&D and early D&D, OD&D, was it didn't take a high-level cleric to turn a vampire.
Right.
And once you hit like 9th, 10th, 11th level, you get dust a vampire pretty easy.
I'm still here.
So, right, and I think that they should bump that up. Anybody who remakes that turntable, they should severely bump, especially the more interesting ones like a vampire. It shouldn't be that easy. Maybe instead of maybe turning them may not be that hard, but definitely the automatic death or automatic destruction, whatever, that's stupid. It's very low level. It's not that high. I don't even think it's double digits.
Yeah, the turning power in general, I'm not a fan of. We should talk about that a little bit too. I think, but we'll get to that in a minute. Turning is, I'll make a note, because turning is it's a weird mechanic that I'm not a huge fan of. So, yeah, but the mummy had a cool power, as Max said. Listen to this. You lose in the old school. You'd lose 2 points of charisma every time you failed to save against the rot.
Oh boy,
permanently. And if you died, you could not be raised from the dead. You could if they got to you within 6 rounds, casting Cure Disease first, then raise dead. If you didn't do it in that order, you would not come back from the dead.
Oh boy.
And they
but it just kills you. It kills you. You don't become something.
No, you just
except a corpse.
Corpse, yeah. So, but there were lesser zombies and mummy lords later on. They got even worse. So, but yeah, the rotting disease was iconic. The damage was ridiculous. Not ridiculous. It was tough.
Nobody wanted. As soon as it was a mummy, you were like, okay, are we going to run?
Yeah, or is the cleric going to turn them? Shadow says vamps could also be clerics. Yeah, of course. I would say vampires could be any class they wanted. They're
intelligent. If you can find, if you had a deity that would accept them as a cleric, sure.
And I would say the same for mummies. Why couldn't they be any kind of class?
Well,
any kind of intelligent undead.
What about who's it in the Mummy movie?
Oh yeah,
Imhotep.
Yeah.
And he wasn't he a priest of somebody?
Yeah, I think he was. He was the head priest of Osiris or whoever, the god of the dead, whoever it was. Yeah. So
he was depicted as he lost his power in what movie? Which movie? That he lost his power and then jumped into that crack in the earth with the undead. Was that the first one? No, it was the second one.
I don't remember. You might.
That was the second one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, mummies had good resistances too, magical weapons and stuff. They were pretty hard to handle.
And you can make them more interesting by, from what I remember, mummies aren't particularly intelligent. They're just shambling corpses that have extra powers.
Well, I think you're thinking of the movie mummies. I think the mummies in D&D were actually pretty smart.
I just don't remember them being that.
Yeah, I often used them as brutes. Their intelligence, well, you're right. It was no, what's a mule? Their intelligence was low, though. You're correct. So maybe they weren't be good spellcasters, and they wouldn't be good fighters.
But you could have something mummified like Imhotep. Mm-hmm. You could always do something like that, make them a little more interesting.
And I think it became a template again in 3E. You could have a mummified hill giant. So that's pretty gruesome.
Yes. Just make all the giants worse.
That's what I'm talking about.
They hit very hard.
Yeah, so we should add mummy rot to it.
Sure.
Just to make it fun.
Sure. Whatever makes you happy.
That makes me happy. Makes Randy very happy. These, by the way, folks, are probably my favorite monsters.
Right.
Historically speaking, Randy loves his undead.
Mm-hmm. Especially the lich.
Oh, beautiful. Just a beautiful creature.
And you don't, and a lich is like it's like a vampire in that they're intelligent. They can employ servants because they're high level and they're high level spellcasters.
Yeah.
So they can do all kinds of things, and you really don't have to do a whole lot to them. They have a ton of resistances, a ton.
Intelligence on first edition. Intelligence of a lich, supra genius.
Yes. So 21? Is it 21?
1819, I think.
Oh.
His armor class is roughly equivalent to +1 plate and +1 shield. He has he's at least an 18th level magic user, meaning cleric or wizard. Oh, Calvinoid.
No. In the first, is that a first edition?
First edition.
Magic user means magic user.
It says of magic, my bad. Liches were formerly ultra powerful magic users or magic user clerics of not less than 18th level of magic use. That's the correct terminology.
Okay.
So, cause D10 and paralyze opponents who failed their saving throw.
So you could be both. They could be both. A lich could be both.
What? Yes, you could be a cleric magic user. Yes, sir.
So it had a slash there, not saying or.
Slash. MU/cleric 18th level. Bring it on.
That might be or. Might be.
No.
But I know Randy will read that as 18th level cleric, 18th level magic user. Why not?
Fighter, 18th level.
It won't add to their challenge at all.
And if you're 5th level or lower, the mere sight you flee in panic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty boss. +1 weapons to hit. D10 touch. Completely paralyze your butt if they touch you. Yeah. Oh, what did Cal say there? I missed that. The Shrine of Tamoakan, there were various mummies, even a cent. Oh, yeah, cool. That's old school. Well, they mess with it.
The old school, the old stuff back in 2nd edition and 1st edition days were interesting and cool.
But you know what? To be fair,
they didn't have baristas.
3rd edition just formalized a lot of that crap, whether you liked it or not. Instead of waiting for some dual or multi-class. Whatever's better.
I'm just saying
my lich would be whatever's better.
He's saying either or probably here.
He'd get all of both and be incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
And Joe would hate him. Yeah. Shadowing Sun, but liches are always spellcasters, as such should have lots of magic items and minions.
Yeah, there would be very interesting foes. They'll come at you sideways.
Dude, I even like the variant. What were they called in Forgotten Realms? The Bane Lorn? Is that what they were called?
Yeah.
Or were they called Bale Norns?
Bale Norn.
They were like good liches. So they were basically protectors of the dead. An elven guy would, yes, a lich is rich. Well done, Cal. And so, but I would say, I think that's an interesting concept of a neutral to good lich where he just hides himself in the tombs to protect the family of elves, their corpses, not to become and it was like an honor to have to do that. They weren't seeking greater power, where liches are like, they put their life force in that phylactery, which they do. Now that's the weakness for a lich. They got that phylactery, or what do they call it now in Pathfinder? Soul cage. But I mean, which is
dumb.
Well, it is what it is, but I get it. They did it for stupid reasons. But let's not go down that path.
So could you have a name that's not phylactery, that's at least as interesting sounding as phylactery and not as flat and dead as soul cage?
Amulet, charm, fetish, mascot, mojo, periop, talisman.
Talisman
Talisman of the lich. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Soul cage. All right, whatever. But they did it for all the stupid reasons. But yeah, liches were love me some vampires. Liches were number one. Love to threat. I remember, what was that first? Yeah. What was that first module where I've never seen the word lichen?
Oh, yeah.
With a fungus that grows inside some caves. And I told the group, Joe remembers this, I was like, you walk into a cave and you see a butt of just lichen all over the wall. I didn't pronounce it right. And they're all like, liches all over the wall? How many of them are there? You remember that? You guys were like, holy crap, liches.
We run.
Yeah. So, but I think they have so much variety. And of course, they give birth to the demi-lich too. Yeah.
I think 10th level characters would have a hard time with a lich.
It depends on what level you make him. Some editions allow liches to be lower level. I know 3rd edition and maybe even 5th edition allows them to be as low as 11th level. But who likes that? That's no fun.
18th level, if a lich is 18th level wizard and a 10th level party rolls up, meteor swarm, they are all dead. Even if they make their saving throw, they're probably all dead.
I think it'd be more fun for him to toy with them.
Sure. But just wanted to.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but 18th level.
I mean, if his goal is to kill them, maybe you roll in, you get the initiative, you put some hurt on him. Maybe you don't. Maybe he sees you coming from a mile away through his crystal ball. He's got his minions in front, and you're like, yeah, rush the lich. And then all the wights and vampire fighters are like, nah, not so much. And then next thing you know, he goes, okay. Abidazim's Horde Wilting, my favorite, which doesn't hurt the undead. And change the life out of everybody else. 22d8 damage, and you are welcome. So
yeah, because he can have his minions soften you up.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to worry about them because it's negative energy that's draining the life from you.
Yeah.
So
is that a 2nd edition spell?
That is a Tome of Magic 2nd edition spell. They just call it Horde Wilting in 3rd edition.
Right.
It's quite Horde. I always liches never leave home without Horde Wilting in my campaign.
Okay. Question though. You say it's Tome of Magic, but wasn't Tome of Magic kind of a compilation of things? So it might have appeared elsewhere, like in Abidazim's. It might have been in Al-Qadim.
It was Abidazim's Horde Wilting initially. That's a good call. I don't know, Joe. Might have been.
It would be cool to find out.
I think was Tome of Magic one of the last 2nd edition books.
I don't know. I don't know the timeline on that.
Yeah, me neither. All right, but yeah, so Lich is just, I mean, they're basically an undead caster that's got all the time in the world to plan, and he's lived a life already. He survived the transformation into a Lich. There's so much. Yeah, I agree with Darth. 11th level's too weak for a Lich. Yeah, because you have to survive the process.
Right. And if I remember correctly, okay, so Darth says it requires a minimum level of 11 and 3x, but I think higher levels and access to better spells would improve the chance of becoming a Lich. A lot of Liches they attain their higher level caster level while they're a Lich.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they would stay all secretive. They're super intelligent, so they're not going to be going out letting everybody know, hey, look, I'm an undead creature that could be destroyed by finding my phylactery, because that's a big weak point. Because you get the phylactery, I believe if you destroy it, isn't he dead? Doesn't that kill him? Just destroy, or if you destroy the phylactery and then defeat him, he stays dead.
It's something like that. I can't remember specifically.
Yes, his phylactery is well hidden, and you kill him, his soul goes back into the phylactery, and the next person that comes around, I believe, he can magic jar, Joe's favorite spell, and take over your body and kill you.
Magic jar is a spell that a DM would well say doesn't exist in their game.
It is.
Randy doesn't need to worry about it, because none of us are going to do the things that a particularly conniving group of characters might want to do.
Right.
Like take over town.
Right, which you could do that. Joe's talked about that a little bit.
You could take over a lot of town. I mean, depending on how the game world is structured, you could create a kingdom just with a magic jar. So you get 9th level, you're king.
There's a podcast for D&D, spells to watch out for.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. I think it's a cool spell, just the reading of it. But when you really think about the ramifications of it, I mean, it's not 100% that's going to happen, but it's easy to leave town if things go south, if you just prepare a little bit.
You know what? I'm speed reading by certain conjurations, enchantments, and a phylactery. I'm trying to see. I don't think it says in 1st edition that destroying the phylactery will kill him. It doesn't in the monster manual. It just says through conjurations, enchantments, and a phylactery, he can become a Lich. I think Dragon Magazine article expanded on. I remember at one point they created a potion they had to finally drink, and you had to make a save versus poison at -4 or just be dead. If you made it, then you very painfully became a Lich.
I thought that wasn't that the Death Master. Wasn't that in the Death Master description?
I could be wrong. It could be. I'm not sure.
But there's been some different articles about becoming a Lich, and Death Master was one of the methods that the DM can have an NPC, because it was supposed to be a class for the NPCs, not for the PCs.
Yeah, Cal called it. The process for Lichdom wasn't a Dragon Mag. He called that before I did. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah. With what Randy was saying earlier, older versions of the game, even up to 1st edition, had very short descriptions of things, and there were lots of vagaries. And That gave a lot of fodder for the Dragon magazine to have people writing articles about how does this happen. Like I remember the article, "How Heavy Is My Giant?"
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And had a whole table on how you could determine the weight of a character depending on their strength.
Yes.
Because that if you're super strong, that implies you have lots of muscle.
And I'm really drawn to that style of description. Less is more. To leave it open for the DM, and that would make a player purchasing the monster manual being not such a big deal. Well, I know it's this ability and that ability, dude. It just says conjuration, enchantments, and phylacteries. My lich went through a very special process. He has different powers than the one you're reading about. That's just the humdrum standard lich.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, according to Darth, you have to destroy the lich, followed closely by its phylactery. Otherwise, it can come back or remake its phylactery.
I believe that's
the lich had to be defeated.
Had to defeat a vampire for some ingredient.
Oh, yeah, probably.
He's right. He had to have vampire dust or something. I swear, I'm almost positive. Anybody out there can find the magazine. I'm almost positive they had to drink the potion. I don't think that was a Death Master. I think the lich had to drink because it was dangerous to become a lich. Very survived.
I'm remembering part of the Death Master description. They had to hang themselves.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah, they had to hang themselves. They had to drink a potion and whatnot, but part of it, they had to essentially hang themselves. They had to kill themselves, and then the potion, rely on their potion to do the trick for them.
Yeah, Joe's talking about the Death Master NPC class, which was ridiculous, powerful necromancer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, just your garden variety lich.
You know, there are a lot of monsters that we talk about that for any particular campaign should be singular.
Yes.
You know, or very rare. Like a lich, any particular campaign shouldn't have more than one or two. Maybe three, depending on how big of a geographical area you're talking about. But a lich is plenty to have in your campaign.
Yeah. Do you really want more than one?
So Order of the Stick.
Yeah.
The major opponent for them was a lich. Almost the entire run up to a certain point until they defeated. I mean, it was a long, years and years long run where this lich was their nemesis for, he wasn't every panel of every strip, but he was their nemesis for quite a long time.
Oh, Bruce for the win, dude. That is a sweet, whether you like third edition or not, that's those Libris Mortis, the Book of Aberrations, those are all excellent fodder. Truth, brother. Truth.
Oh, we're hiring you to defeat this horde flock murder of liches, according to Legion of Myth. Yeah, a horde of liches. Just run.
Dude.
Your campaign world will end up like that one where the bad guys win.
If you got three liches working together, you got a world that's in deep doo-doo.
No, you will have a roll aids module.
Ah, that's right. Dude,
was it three? Was it three?
It was 3 or 4 liches, yeah. But they were quote unquote working together. But they were also backbiting each other. You could take advantage of that. That was a crazy little module by Roll Aids.
And you could get some wicked crowns in that.
Yes, you could. The crowns were powerful. Yeah, the liches unions.
The lich union. That would be funny. I need to find that. That would be cool to have.
What's that? The liches union?
That module.
Yes, yeah. The Lich Lords. It was called the Lich Lords.
The Lich Lords, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're the lords of liches. They're not just the common garden variety like we were saying, lich. They were lords.
Yeah.
Book of All Darkness, according to Bruce, had some amazing stuff in it. If only 5th edition could carry the torch instead of being an easy mode to explore pointless SJW stories and barista woes. Yes. You are correct. Bruce with the win. All right.
Oh, hold on, Joe. That. Do you see that? Maybe you don't.
There it is.
That's the Lich Lords.
That's pretty small.
Talking about, yeah, it's pretty small. I don't know how to make it bigger. Does that help?
Yeah, but
Mitch George by Brian Sellers.
Lynn
Sellers, my bad. Rules. Yeah, there was rules for wishes. Cool rules for wishes. I had this module. Man, I wish I levels 12 to 16. There you're talking. Now you're talking a little bit better. And there was multiple liches. If you fought all of them, you were screwed. But yeah, that
if
was
you can get them to fight each other, that would be better.
That's the way you should absolutely go. That's the best move. So, anywho, all right. Then, of course, the Death Knight, high-level warrior, had to have a magic weapon, they said, usually +2. Mostly an anti-paladin, like Shadow and Sun said. They were the liches of the fighter world, except they got power word kill and I think delayed blast fireball. 20 dice fireball. Nothing to really worry about. Once a day. Oh, Cal had that module. Me too, brother. I got rid of it like a dumb butt. Oh well. So, anywho, how much? $30? That's on eBay.
It's on eBay.
That's not horrendous. It's a little high, but it's not. That's actually a pretty long module. That's kind of
It's probably not a bad deal considering.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's a decent price.
Let's see. Sometimes these are misleading though.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a reprint, and I don't know if Rolade stuff is up for reprint on.
Probably not. So because you're probably looking. Yeah, I used to have that. Was a good one. I did get a reprint of Dark Tower, which is a good little module. Dude, whoa.
That one's for 71. Both are buy it now though, if you want it.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's tempting. Don't anybody else get it? You guys get
it doesn't have any details about this.
Oh, right. So it could be something.
Let's see here.
That looks like a module. Yeah.
It looks like it's in good shape.
Dude, that's nice. On eBay?
$30.
Pardon me for a minute. Just a moment, please. Oh, Mayfair Rolades module. Yeah, make an offer. Randy's about to make an offer to this dude.
I shouldn't have showed that to you. Should have kept it secret till I could get it myself.
Oh, you want it, dude? I won't steal from you.
I'm not. I'm joking. I'm not going to be running anybody through it. I do remember being in it back in the day, and it was no fun. I mean, it was fun playing, but it was not an easy module to get through.
I'll see if it's there after the podcast. What am I doing? Quit this crap. Let's go. All right. So Death Knight, as I said, high-level warrior, sweet power word kill, Lord Soft being the classic example. Yeah, just a sweet little lich fighter guy with awesome powers. They can pretty much kick the poop out of most parties. So
how many what is it supposed to be a challenge for, whatever that means?
Yeah, whatever that means. So they say the Death Knight. So here's the second edition picture of the Death Knight. And it looks like he's rolling in at about 12. 9 hit dice, all 10-sided. Number of attacks, 1 with the +3 bonus. So his +3 sword. They had a roll. He could get anything from a longsword +2 to a two-handed sword +3 or 4. Sword of quickness, dancing, or life stealing. Just roll a d6. He gets 1. He had a buttload of powers. Oh, he could use any of the power words, not just kill. That's the one that I love. 20 dice fireball once per day. He cannot be turned at all. So you're fighting him. Oh, in second edition, magic resistance, 75%. Homie could lay it down, and he was a genius. So
very smart.
There you go. So he was bad news.
Yes, very bad news.
I believe Vecna was the Arc Lich, and I believe Koss was his Death Knight right-hand man. I believe. He was a vampire fighter. That's right.
Vampire?
Vampire fighter, yeah. So, and he took the hand from an eye from Vecna, and I need to be the ruler. So, anyway, yeah. So there you go. There's an overview. What about then? Let's kind of switch gears here. We're at 9:19. We got a lot to cover. How about their Ecology and Corporeal Undead? How are we going to use them in a campaign, dude?
Well, as far as Ecology, especially
I hit a lot of this.
Like skeletons, they don't eat anything.
Right.
They're just guardians. They're usually set up as guardians for somebody. You rarely just I suppose you can have them. Well, they're guardians of one thing or another. A lot of times they're guardians of mausoleums and graveyards and stuff like that. Don't steal dead people's stuff, or skeletons will get you.
Yeah.
But they don't eat anything. They don't take up all that much space. So I don't think they have much of a consideration in the ecology of your world. But what you can say is, how could they influence your campaign world? You might have them as standard guardians for anybody. And you may not have to be evil to have them, though that's how they're listed.
What, listed as evil?
Well, they're not listed as evil, but it's listed as made by evil people.
Yeah. Right.
So if in your world you don't have any taboos about disturbing the dead, that might change. But your standard medieval world would have taboos about that, because you don't want graveyards to get disturbed all the time, just for one reason or another. It's a good taboo to have.
And
letting the dead lie one way or another.
And this would be a good discussion, because like ghouls could be in danger of eating fresh corpses, so they could kind of ruin from underground a cemetery once you went to But then again, no one's going to dig up their loved ones, so you may never know it. They may tear up the ground and get to all the fresh corpses.
And where do ghouls come from?
Yeah,
I mean, skeletons, we know where they come from. And zombies, skeleton zombies in the D&D type worlds, they come from evil spellcasters making them. Mm-hmm. Ghouls and ghasts, are they the result of perhaps humans becoming cannibals and then eventually acquiring an evil supernatural stain on their being, and they eventually can become a ghoul?
Yeah, I think I think they could be cursed because they had cannibalism or extreme gluttony. Yeah, I think the zombies, and as Shadow said, and zombies and skeletons could be used also as foot soldiers, of course.
Right.
Vampires, of course, and wights. They're the really dangerous ones that would probably be more likely things working in the background. Vampires and liches in the background. Wights would be the more dangerous type that could probably get a group of adventurers called in to deal with them. Hey, we got this creature that's just killing everything. We need to take care of it. Would you go down there in that cave and take care of it?
Right. And, do you have more than one vampire? I was saying liches are powerful enough to probably just have one. And I'm pretty sold on that idea, them being unique.
Now, vampires no, because vampires create spawn.
Yes,
right?
They do.
That's a classic thing. So I feel like vampires are dangerous because they would be, well, as wights technically can too, but to me, vampires would first like, holy crap, we don't want to get infested with vampires. I mean, a clan of vampires living in Waterdeep, there was a series of modules about that. And I was like, that would be terrifying, having to find a quote unquote nest of vampires using supernatural language, the TV series, to hunt them out and have to kill all them with the danger of you getting turned into it. And there's bunches of them and you don't know who's what. You go out at night, you can't tell what they look like in the darkness, whether they're, if they just fed, they might have flushed cheeks and look like me or you.
And if your game throws all traditional vampire lore to the wind,
mm-hmm.
and they're not scared of sunlight or anything like that, then it can be really tough on the players to suss out a vampire or a pile of them. So I think it's good to have a set of things that are particular to destroying these things. So you can go with the traditional things with vampires, or you could adopt new ones, but you should have a thing that can be found out for the players to be able to go and destroy these dudes. Because that's, unless you just want to make them real tough monsters and not have weaknesses for them. You could do that too.
Yeah, so Death Knights, I could be down with the idea of one Death Knight, but I also could be down with an order of knights that turned from the ways of their god or whoever they followed, and they were cursed. Like I think some of the Knights of Salamnia were like that back in the pre-Cataclysm days. I'm not an expert there.
Kind of like the Nazgul.
Yeah, the Nazgul. So you might have the 9, right? The 9 Death Knights. I think Demogorgon in one version of D&D had 8 Death Knights leaders that he created that were once he had corrupted, that were once good, and he had them turned into Death Knights. Legion. I can sum up all 15-ish seasons. It is 15 exactly of Supernatural. We're brothers, man. Brothers stick together. Brothers. True. I still enjoyed it. Even though they jumped the shark at season 6 and 7, they left the depths in season 8. They saved a little face, got a little dumb at times. In the end, wasn't the greatest, but I thought their interaction was pretty great most of the way through.
I think they should have stopped at 3.
I think 5 when they defeated Lucifer.
Oh, 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah. I think that was the best ending point, but no, they had to keep going because it was so popular. But anyway,
liches should, and vampires maybe not so much, but still there should be a uniqueness to the vampires that you can grab onto and use to help defeat them.
And you could have one vampire of each type. You could have the classic vampire. You have your hag that latches on, the one that walks the daywalker. You could have a handful of vampires in your world, but they all are very different.
You could have a necropolis, right?
Oh, yeah.
City of Dead somewhere lost that you accidentally happen to find and open the doors of, and oops. And now there's lots of different things. And have the skeletons and zombies be different, have evil dead. You could have all kinds of you can play around with these undead quite a bit.
Oh, look at Shadow and Sun. He just pulled out a Fiend Folio reference. Is that the 13 Death Knights of Demogorgon, Shadow? He said there were 13. I thought it was 8. It might be what I'm remembering. I don't have the Fiend Folio anymore. So it's actually not that expensive for an older book. You can get it for $20 or $30 on eBay.
Right. So I think if you are someone who likes to flesh out their campaign world instead of starting small and figuring out where people go and then figuring it out on the fly using random table generator type things, then there are people like that. And I fall closer to that group than the fully fleshed out group. But if you plan on undead, especially the corporeals that we're talking about, and especially vampires and liches and death knights, the real powerful ones,
right?
You probably want to figure out some things about them and how they impact your campaign world.
Because they're going to. Because they're simply going. They're too powerful not to.
Right.
If they're just a creature you're fighting in the next dungeon room, and he has no rhyme or reason, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Why are you hanging around here, Lord Soth? Because I knew you were coming and I wanted to fight 17th level characters. Thought it'd be fun. Well, that leads us. I think I'm going to skip the number 5 there because we might bring that in a second. I'm going to slide on down to the alternate takes if that's okay with you, Joe. Because we talked a lot.
Sounds good.
So the idea is, most of these undead, they're either cursed creatures, magically created from dead bodies, necromancer, spellcaster, animated by a dark spirit, animated by connection to negative energy plane, created by a deity of death, say Orcus. Okay, it was Orcus. Okay, thanks, Shadow. That was 13 Death Knights by Orcus. That was it.
Well, and that fits in with Orcus.
Yeah, or even sometimes some versions of D&D, some creatures, they talk about them, their spirit or soul, their strength of will being so strong, they brought themselves back from the grave, like a revenant.
Right.
Motivated.
Ghosts are like that too.
Yeah, motivated by revenge or hate. These are, or even love, maybe. So you got all these common takes. I kind of like the alternate takes. I wanted to offer some alternate takes. Do you want to take the first one, Joe?
Yes, undead are a living race from another world who are secretly or not so secretly planning an invasion. Lich leaders, Death Knight commanders, wights are assassins, ghouls are just soldiers, and skeletons and zombies are servants of the more powerful. So when you put, this is your idea though, living race, are they actually a race?
That was the idea. So they come from a place, maybe a place that's in, maybe they're in the negative material plane. I mean, again, we gotta. So my idea is, what if we rejigger the idea of what the undead are? So, what if, and if you want me, maybe you have your own. Do you have your own alternate takes besides mine?
No, but I can segue this into RPG Pundit has his what's it called? World of the Last Sun.
Yeah.
And in that there is a country run by undead, and they carry on as if they were the living.
Right.
They have kings and sheriffs and rebels, undead who are rebels, and they have the living are their food. So, but you can get captured there and treated well until they, kill you and eat you. So sometimes, and then they have humans there that that are their advocates because they haven't killed them yet. So you can have but yeah, they could come from there. Let's say in their world, they are a race of beings.
Yep.
They seem undead to us, to the living, to people from the prime world, but from their world, from their point of view, they're just as living as anything else.
Yeah.
But when they come here, they just have that negative. They have a negative energy aspect to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. I don't want to change their abilities. I just want their perspective to be very different. Maybe they have a lich lord master who's planning to overtake the whole world, or maybe he wants to get a kingdom so he can become part of the body politic in the world or in the kingdom. He doesn't necessarily want to, kill everybody, though killing a lot's fun, but he'd like to be a ruler. And so he maybe first sends out his few set of ghouls for their what did I say? Ghouls are just soldiers, maybe wights as assassins to kill certain leaders he wants to take this one town over. And when he kills everybody in undead rule, he's like, look, I want to be part of the union, right? I want to be one of the countries in the union. We're just here to do what we do. We don't have to have a big war and stuff like that. So I think that could be a nice surprise take. That the liches, that the vampires, the undead are not trying to kill everyone. They just want their place at the table.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
Which people would be opposed to that.
Absolutely. Sure. Or like you said, you could have a world where it's already been done.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to bring them down.
Just don't go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Another take was think of undead purely as constructs created for purpose in a society where there's no respect for the dead. So when you die, you're just a corpse, dude. I mean, it don't mean
you're a resource.
You're a resource. So you can create skeletons and zombies as soldiers, maybe police. Ghouls could be, I had them as garbage monsters. So maybe ghouls not only eat dead flesh of any sort, and maybe they can eat garbage, so they can take the place of the Adiug. Right. And so they clean up towns and stuff. And then Death Knights could be commanders of armies of undead, maybe, or other people. Vampires could be stealthy assassins. I mean, you could do things like that. Liches could be powerful advisors to the king. I mean, that would be an interesting take. And they're created by magic users and clerics using magic, and their sentience is more of an AI type intelligence.
Right.
Not so much a true sentience, right?
I don't know how you would make that work in the game, because they would still appear to be intelligent, whether it would be, or you're just saying it's not born of some malevolent energy. It's just born of their construction.
Yeah, maybe even take away their true connection to the negative material plane, so that what they do is they just, they're a construct, so they don't need that connection. Or maybe it's the negative energy plane that keeps them, quote unquote, moving. The wizards and the clerics say, oh, this will be a way to power them because their flesh is dead. We have to power them with the anti-life equation, And so it would be more constructed. They don't have none of them have their own true free will. Though you could always have, what if the one lich we made gets his own AI, like Terminator? What's that called?
Becomes self-aware.
Becomes self-aware, and then you're in trouble, right? So you could approach it that way. Granted, it may not to the characters seem all that different, but once they discovered that's what was going on, maybe it would be an interesting take, especially if you decided not to have them drain levels at all or be connected to the negative and material plane at all. So they were true constructs. There you go. Shadow and Sons Frankenstein would be perfect.
Right? Well, but he's self-aware.
Frankenstein
is self-aware.
True. But the idea of building these creatures come from body parts or a body, and you animate them through magic, not so much through, or even through technology. Maybe depends on your campaign world, I guess.
Okay, so how about you leave that vague?
Sure.
What juice it is, whether it's positive or negative or something else.
Yeah.
So it could even be an honor. So in Egyptian mythology, great burial rituals were carried out so that you had a smooth transition from here to the hereafter. So gold and all this stuff. Your pets were mummified. Perhaps your wives or your husbands or whatever family members were all mummified together. Guardians were placed there. All this stuff. Perhaps you put a spin on that and say, you as an honored living person, when you die, you become an honored guardian. And perhaps you retain your intelligence from your previous life. And you feel honored to be to have your life extended into unlife, but it's for guardian purposes. So you guard the community, and maybe you're not necessarily a policeman so that you don't get real close contact, but maybe you do. Who knows?
That's kind of a take of the Baelnorn, right? More where it's an honor bound thing, and so your skeletons and zombies might be commoners, where your wights and vampires or wights and maybe ghouls would be higher level warrior types.
Right. So Farmer Joe, can't afford a full blown thing, so his son dies in a farming accident. So he has the corpse not resurrected, but reanimated, so he can help him on the farm because he can't afford for them to go without a farmhand.
Oh yeah.
So it's not looked at as being evil; it's just looked at as being expedient. So, but he got the cut rate version, just got a skeleton instead of a zombie or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then the third one that I had. Do you want to take that one?
Due to the destruction of the deity of death. So yeah, so if death dies, then the dead can't move on and they don't die. So they'll fall over, and a couple minutes later they'll stand back up, and they're like, "What's your problem? I am not dead. I'm not a zombie. I'm here. Let me have that piece of chicken," or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's got an axe sticking in his head.
Yeah.
So yeah. No one whose body is not completely destroyed is able to stay dead. Right. Undead rise indiscriminately upon death, and towns and cities have groups of priests or acolytes whose job it is to destroy undead only. So it might be a bad thing. You might, instead of merely not dying, you become undead, and now you have to, the people. It's left up to those who are left behind to clean up the mess of death not being dead. But if the god of death or whoever ushers folks' dead spirits into the afterlife, however it works for your campaign world, if they're not doing their job, would the dead actually be undead?
Well, right. I don't know.
So you could go either way. You could say that just have undead all over the place, or you could say people aren't dying.
Again, leave it no explanation. I would just, people aren't dying. Or I like the idea of they both could be fun. So there's no undead, but I like people are dying. I would use motivations like your actions in life. So if you're a glutton, you become a ghoul. If you are a leech on somebody, maybe you become a wight. If you were someone that was always stealing money or needing this, and maybe if you were a power hungry wizard, you become a lich, right? So what would happen is I think these group of acolytes or adventuring groups would be needed. They would be needed. There would be a call. Dude, we need this all the time. And it could be that they, people are always worried about people getting sick. If you're sick, you're quarantined. Bring it to combination. Sick, like deathly sick, and like you need to be. And the priest comes in and go, well, he's not recovering. We need to burn his body, and maybe you have to burn it or incinerate it. So there would be a job for pretty tough characters.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be a job for just swords and stuff. I guess you could chop it into pieces, and then it would be twitching all the time. It wouldn't be truly dead. That could be.
It would be gruesome. Someone would have to. So that could be a campaign issue. that you might want the characters to resolve.
True, you might start that that might be a higher level campaign.
Yeah,
start at mid level, and you guys got to fix this because everything's going crazy. We're getting Day of the Dead or Walking Dead everywhere we turn. There's this real danger of an undead apocalypse, right? Kind of like our Elysium campaign right at CabinCon for many years. There truly was an undead apocalypse, though we didn't feel the heat because of conceits of the game.
Right.
So, you got any other ideas at the top of your head you think would be cool for taking a little twist on the undead?
Well, it would be twisting it from the D&D paradigm.
Sure.
So I would throw, like I said earlier, I would throw Evil Dead. I would just twist the zombies and skeletons into the Evil Dead type of thing, where they are somewhat intelligent and are hungry to kill the living. So they're not just guardians; they come after you. And the zombies do, but they're still guardians. They're not necessarily motivated. Not really.
Oh, Darth has a good question there under my last example. What about a priest of a good god that dies? What would it become? Well, depending on its funeral rites, maybe it would become, since it can't pass on, it stays back and becomes an undead sort of thing. Maybe it would become a Baelnorn.
Or perhaps none of that matters. So when you die, your soul departs but doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
But your body's still there.
Yeah.
And it could animate and just be a skeleton or zombie. Or maybe an evil spirit could inhabit it.
Right. So it doesn't matter whether you're good or evil.
So there's no one guarding the way. So souls go kind of wander back and forth.
Yeah. And so the good soul takes off and somebody will go, ooh, look, that body's open. I'm down. But I don't know about the last two. It says, I think I've changed these around a little bit. I don't want to rank the undead today, though, of course, for me, you would know I'd put them way at the top of the list. They might end up being my number one creature.
Well, undead make the top 10.
I think easily.
So, we're going to discuss several monsters.
Yeah.
And instead of saying undead make the top 10, you might need to pick one.
Yeah, and we have to decide the design of our poll. Right now, I'll just mention this to everybody else, and it could change drastically. I'm thinking a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high. I may lower that. I find a smaller window is easier to, how do you just differentiate between a 7 and 8? You might differentiate between a 4 and a 5 easier. And so I'm thinking on their utility, how useful they are in a campaign, their iconic quality. When you think fantasy D&D or RPGs, this creature is way up there. Uniqueness. Again, we got to be careful because a lot of these creatures we're all very familiar with. But if you can take yourself back to when you first saw them, did they blow you away with their uniqueness? And maybe do they inspire you? What creature? So that's going to be some of the qualities we're thinking about. We hope you guys will participate. Anybody that goes to the website, or I think that's where Joe's going to put it.
Well, the poll will probably exist on a couple of different social media platforms, and then the data. What data we get will be collated some kind of way.
Right.
So Legion has an answer for you about the Purr.
The Purr is a heroic character that dies and basically becomes an Outer Planes paladin. I'll look it up when I have time. Okay. A Purr. Is that a second edition monster? I may remember that. I'm not sure. Okay. Sure.
It is very vaguely.
Yeah, I don't know.
In there.
I know there was such thing as what do they call them? Not a plaintiff. What was the word they used in Sigil? In the Outer Planes? Petitioners, yeah.
Petitioner, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with the undead, or do you feel like we've handled the corporal ones fairly well?
Yeah, I think. I think we did all right. If folks want us to do a slightly different way of doing these things, maybe more useful to them. If this has been useful, it'd be nice to hear one way or the other. I would like for these to be useful, not just yammering what we like about monsters.
Yeah, and we kind of have done that, and I don't know. We'll see what the folks think. So don't be afraid to comment or send us emails or give us a call or whatever. We'd love to hear about it. It is 9:44. Do we want to do segment 3, Level Drain?
It won't take long.
Okay. So our third segment, right, is about
level drain. Yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
And what do we want to do with level drain? So effects that take away experience levels. Are there any other games besides D&D that does something like this? For example, removes character advancement from a PC after a monster attack.
Right.
So always level drain. Bruce says, do the level drain. Do it. Do it.
My dude, baby.
It is a very distinctly D&D way of handling things. Yes. I don't know. I think other from what I remember, other games just have them do damage.
Yeah, or paralyze you or do things like that. I do think the level drain, while it makes some of the undead very terrifying, and I used to love it back then. You know, I love to drain your levels. Give you 5 levels, take away 10. But I do think Max says it's a bad idea.
It might be. It's just because it is peculiarly D&D doesn't make it good.
Correct. I think part of it is in a 3.x or Pathfinder game, if you do permanently lose a level, you have to remember how many skill ranks you put into a particular skill, and you got to remove it. Do you have to remember? Do you have to remember how many hit points you rolled? Oh, Legion.
People get more upset about level drain than getting killed.
They do. My first response to that is whang.
Yeah.
Because it's in the game. But my second response is, yeah, I kind of get it. But I know, again, our buddy John at RDD did a podcast several months back where he talked about removing level drain with
switching out with stat drain.
Stat drains, which they did that also in 3rd edition. They had ability damage and ability drain. Ability damage was easier to heal. Level drain can be challenging. I think didn't 3.x or Pathfinder make it easy during play where you just took minus.
You got a negative level.
A negative level.
Negative level essentially means you lost your highest level slot for spell casting, and you got a penalty of 1 for each level drained to your rolls. Essentially, there might be a little bit more to it than that, but that's the essentials.
Yeah, but Bruce says it's not hard to figure out, but it feels a little tedious at the table, especially if you're getting pimp slapped a few times and you have to make all those changes. And don't you have to go back and readjust? So I guess I'm trying to remember. In Pathfinder, is it that it's temporary level drain and then you get a saving throw at the end?
There was something like that. It's been a while.
But 2nd edition D&D, level drain in PF, -1 on all rolls, skills, and weapons to hit damage, -5 permanent hit points. Did you get a save, though, or is that guaranteed? So if a wight hits you, that happens, no save. Sorry about your luck. I felt like there was a saving throw within 24 hours, or am I remembering something completely odd?
Yeah, Darth Theik, it was much easier dealing with level drain in older editions than in 3X and up. Mainly because of the skill point distribution and then feats and all the extra stuff you got from leveling. In older editions, you just lost your level, and you usually didn't get a whole lot when you leveled, unless you were a spellcaster.
Well, and I think in 3rd edition, 3X and Pathfinder, you got a party of 8th level characters, and your character gets knocked down to 4th, and it's permanent. You kind of can't hang with them anymore. You're a liability.
Yeah, you can be.
Bruce says at the end of the day, you get a level drain saving throw to find it true.
Right.
Okay.
And the saving throw would be CR +10. Fortitude save is how Bruce does.
Yeah. If I'm a player, do you have issues, Joe, with level drain? If I just ran level drain straight as written, would you be like, okay, that's how it works?
That's usually how I do it. Mm-hmm. This is how level drain works. Let's do it. It sucks. Yep. Level drain sucks. You just can't you can't get around that. But it's iconic for D&D. I mean, I don't know if I go as far as Max over at Legion of Myth saying you can't take it out because then you're not playing D&D.
Right.
But it sucks. And if the DM says, yeah, that's how we're doing it, well, that's how we're doing it. And if you're fighting a monster and someone gets level drained, you can stay there and keep fighting, and hope you can beat it down before it drains another level, or you can beat a hasty retreat and try to get away from it so it doesn't drain any more levels. So you've got some, you're not locked in necessarily.
No, but I do think the old editions felt like, well, you could quickly get. Iron Man said something. Restoration spell could be available at a cost, either gold or doing a quest. It all could. Yeah, it can. It can. I think it can be when you get a massive level difference. It didn't matter as much in first edition and second edition, but it does more in third and later on when you're doing CR stuff.
Yeah, but like Iron Man is saying, though, once you get to a certain level and you have restoration available or lesser restoration, depending on what version of the game, it blunts the severity of the level drain.
Right, because even if you fail the save that you get in Pathfinder, you could still get restoration, right?
And even though it wasn't as prevalent in older editions, I don't think you had lesser restoration.
I don't think so. I think you had to get true restoration or whatever it was.
And that was a 5th level spell, I think. So something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere around there. So it wasn't low for sure, but it was easier to adventure with a range of leveled characters in old D&D than it is. It's easier to manage in older versions than it is in later versions because the expectation is everybody's the same level in the third and going forward. In older, you don't have that, especially when you look at
multi-class.
Well, no, when you see modules and the level ranges of those modules, if it's a challenge for that range, then the expectation is you could take parties of that with characters of different strength levels, right?
Oh, Iron Man says it was a 7th level spell. That's a little tough to come by.
Yeah, for a cleric, that's their highest level spell slot in the old game.
Yeah, even in the old game, I remember near the end of first edition, I was giving saving throws to like mitigate. Like you would lose the levels during the fight, and at the end of the day, you'd make a save to get some of them back.
The worst part about it isn't the end result of the level drain. The worst part about it is the screeching halt you get in play while you're figuring things.
Yes.
So that's the issue. That's the real problem. Is that is the issue. The halting of the game to figure things.
I kind of
didn't have that. If it was easy to just like that's what the third edition one was better for in the moment because you just got penalties.
Right.
And then you figured out later if you got the permanent drain and then that affected your character more broadly.
Hold on, I have a young Psycho Kitty. Yeah.
Psycho Kitty.
Psycho Kitty.
Psycho Kitty.
Our little one's running around like a psycho. She's got all the energy. She can jump through my secret door. So but yeah, I kind of like what Omanel said. I hated level drains. I would rather it affect stats than slowly recover over weeks. I kind of like that idea better as a concept. But you got to be careful of that too. But that's not as hard. I mean, if you got a 13 con, you got to take 13 level smacks to get to 0. So that's a little tougher to die. That's not so bad. I think overall I would rate level drain about a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, meaning whether I like it or not. There's times I don't. There's times I get it. I think I don't like it in general, and I would like it to be replaced with something else. Pathfinder manages it, like you said. The 3.x manages it in the moment, but it's hard to adjust for later on, especially if you need a 7th level spell to get them back.
Right. In 3rd edition, you didn't. It's earlier editions where it was higher level, harder to come by. In 3rd edition, it was a lot easier. Lesser restoration. Gotcha. I think it's all you needed to do. I think lesser restoration helped you out with the temporary level.
Yes.
Before it became permanent. Once it became permanent, I think you needed the higher level spell.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
I think it was level 5 and lesser was level 2 or something.
Yeah. So it's a pain. But it's iconic to D&D.
Yep.
And you remove it and you remove some of the distinctness of D&D from your table.
Yeah.
But I think it can be replaced with a different thing and still feel similar enough.
But not also now back to the old editions of the turning tables. Talk a little bit about turning undead. If you allow that kind of turn undead, then it almost becomes moot because the clerics stupidly get to where we talked about before, where they can turn undead with ease.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So all these things kind of, and that's the thing. For me, when someone talks about game design, and you look back at first edition or older editions, and you see level drain plus turn undead plus spells and other effects that take away that. I often wonder how designed that was versus, and this is something, a phrase that I've used in the past, whether how much of it is design versus innovation. So we're doing level drain, and clerics, they get these things they can do, and here's some magic items, and when this is all innovations that are to one degree or another independent, but also connected a little bit. How intentional were those things all created when they were done? Yeah. I think.
Did they think about turning undead being easy because the undead were so deadly?
Or is it just they said, well, you know, from our estimation, a cleric that holds up a cross who's faithful should be able to destroy a vampire, or at least make him run.
Right.
So we'll make it fairly easy as long as you have one that has those things and can do it.
Right.
It could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to know looking at it now and wondering how intentional or how unintentional those things were made when they made those different things.
I think Max said a couple of steps up. A lot of folks are chiming in with the details on things. I think undead should be scary, and I do agree. That's a couple of steps up. But
yes. Undead should be scary, one way or the other.
So maybe you could but losing ability scores would also be scary, especially if you keep it permanent, and it's really hard to get back. A lot of good ideas there in the chat. Omanal says at 9:55, you could also make it so statistic drain continues to occur until they kill off the undead. I thought about that too. So while the undead's alive, you can't get your level back or even your stat back, either one.
Or what he's saying, it could be you lose whatever, a point of strength, let's say.
Yep.
And until that thing that caused that initial drain is dead, you keep losing strength.
Ooh,
I think that's what he's saying.
It would be, but the truth is, it's probably going to be the party's probably going to stay and try to fight it till it's dead, or at least if they run, I guess they could theoretically run, but probably going to fight till it's dead. And if you lose a few strength or con points, you're like, hey dudes, we need to kill this dude. But again, vampires turning into gaseous form, he could escape. And you'd be like, oh crap, I'm still losing. That would be deadly. Yeah.
Right.
Turn undead bothers me a little. Of all the turn undead types that I've seen, I probably like damage dealing the best. I do think it should be harder. I don't care if it is. It should.
Here's another wrinkle in all this, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like playing clerics. So you could always say, yeah, vampires are deadly, but all you had to do was have a cleric in the party.
Yep. That's
true. A good cleric.
Yeah.
In the
Patriarch vampires do drain 4 levels, so I don't know what to tell you. You should have had a cleric.
Nobody wanted to play a cleric. It's your guy's fault.
Bad move. Yeah.
Bad move.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different wrinkles in all that.
Yeah, there is. That's a interesting mix. Where do you land in general? Would you like it if there was no level drain? Would you prefer that?
As long as the undead were scary, like Max was saying.
Sorry. Yikes.
Throwing stuff.
I am. I've been loud tonight, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, as long as the undead are scary and they're distinct from other monsters in their scariness, then I'd be fine with whatever is done. But you don't have to have level drain. You could have other things. When a vampire sucks the blood out of you, it's slowly making you, it's the thing. And making you weak. So not necessarily a level drain weak, but it could be draining strength. It could be taking away your hit points that you don't get all the way back. You could have permanent hit point loss. There's all kinds of ways to simulate the scariness. And then in addition to that, if it's turning you, here's something that I thought of that I didn't say earlier.
Yeah.
I'll say it after I finish this thought. There are ways to simulate what happens from a vampire bite in ways other than level drain that still are scary, like strength drain, like the shadow, like Legion had said earlier in his response in chat. Shadows drain strength, and that's scary because eventually you can't move and you become a shadow.
Yeah.
But when ghouls and ghasts create their progeny, it just happens. You lose all your hit points, and then you have a chance of coming back as a ghoul.
Right.
When a vampire drains, do they choose to make a new vampire, or does it just happen?
Yeah, I don't. I got the second edition book. That's where I'm looking. So it might be.
Does it say may create?
Any human or humanoid creature slain by life energy drain of a vampire is doomed to become a vampire themselves.
Okay, so they have no choice.
And I believe they are under that other vampire's control, at least for a while.
Okay, because some vampire lore gives them the option of making or just killing.
Right. Yeah.
So I was curious. Anyway, yeah. And that could be a wrinkle you could put in there. You don't become a vampire because he didn't want you to be one. He just killed you.
I like Cal's comment there at 957. He said, I like when a little bit just before Omen now. I like when the vampire defeats the cleric and crushes his holy symbol. Yeah, that's fun times.
Yeah, I don't like that in movies though. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Evil has all the power and the cleric doesn't have any. The faithful person doesn't have any.
True.
That's why that's one of the things I liked about Fright Night.
Yes.
It made it really, and it made it, you could feel it when the guy was just, pretending to be a vampire hunter. You got to have faith for that to work on me.
That was a great line.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And then when the kid actually did, it was a different story.
Yeah, and he was like,
and then in comes this ghoul guy who, a different take on a ghoul, protector. Kick that dude's face in.
Yeah.
Crack. You can't turn my vampire mask.
Faith doesn't work on him.
Yeah. I don't
faith, no faith doesn't matter.
I'm a construct. Boom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are we done here? I think
we're done here. Anything from the peanut gallery here? Oh, I mean chat. Sorry, I had to say it.
Oh, Cal says Aaron the Pedantic is doing a react show to Professor DM's recent video. Is that the one in regards to Pathfinder making a 5e game? Is that react? I don't know. I gotta look at it. I like to watch Professor DM, but sometimes I get tired of his stuff. And Aaron's pretty good. Aaron's fairly enjoyable. Sometimes, we don't always agree on stuff, but he's a pretty good cat. I don't have too many issues. I don't have any real issues.
He has a recent Twitter post about the D&D consent form, where he marks out all the relationship stuff that we want to have in our group. Oh, relationship with this person, that person. No, let's mark all that stuff out, and then all the stuff that evil people would do.
Yeah.
Like kidnapping and murder and stuff like that. Let's have all that stuff. So you should see it. It was pretty cool. I may try to link to it.
Sure.
And show it to you. It's good stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, I
think we are done.
Yeah.
Thank you to the chat room for folks being here and providing us with extra stuff to talk about. We really appreciate that. Oh, Cal says it was something about Critical Role.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, Critical Role.
Right, check it
out. So, that's nothing against you, Cal. I'm just, Critical Role makes me tired.
Yeah.
And I'm already old, so
it's pretty easy.
It's no good for me. Anyway, if you would like to support our show, please visit the many places you can find us on the interwebs, including our website, which it is sorely in need of love.
Yes.
Click on the support tab for ways you can support us and show us your love with your money or other things like sharing us and all that other good stuff. We're on Twitter and Facebook and MeWe, Odyssey. We're in lots of different places. Also on what is it called? Float, which is new. fairly new. They just went through a revision.
What's it called? Gloat?
Float with an F, as if Flote. I can't remember if I made that account my name or the channel or because I can't remember. Right. Anyway, we're also obviously on YouTube and Odyssey. Our email is thegeeks@biggestgeekestpodcast.com if you have any questions or suggestions. Also, you can share the show with your friends and let us know if there's any other way we can support you out there in the socials.
Yes.
Please like, subscribe, share, and rate us in all the places that you find us.
Yep.
Anything else, Mr. Randy?
I think I'm good, man. It's 10 o'clock. I'm turning into a pumpkin.
All right. This is Joe.
And I'm Randy.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us. Good night.